Welcome, welcome. Uh, it's been a while since I've done this, but this is going to be, and I don't know if I've done it live before. I think maybe I've done it once. Um, this is an impromptu show. I'm going over the Pro Plan and all of its features in its current state, which right now we are in week 2 of official X18 beta. And during this time, it's kind of a wild time for the Pro Plan because I'm developing stuff as fast as I possibly can. My back hurts. I've been sitting in this seat way too long as I'm pumping out update after update. And it's just a really cool time to work with the community of people that always buy the Pro Plan and give good feedback and give suggestions. And I try to implement them and make an extremely good product. Now, it takes a really long time to go over all the features of the Pro Plan. It's in its, what, 5th or 6th commercial year, at least 10th year behind the scenes anyways. And so it's just a massive undertaking to put this together. I've tried to build the metric versions of it several times now. I'm on 200 hours of that and I still can't do it. So there's so much to this to even go over. But the purpose of this video is to show you how I can put together a construction document very simply with the Pro Plan and quickly. And I imagine it's only going to take a couple hours. Now, at the tail end of this video, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to start with a single family home, single family home. And then towards maybe the midpoint or the end of the video, we'll switch that to at least a 2-story home. And maybe that second story will be a walkout basement type of situation, okay? And we'll show you how to build that out using everything that comes with the Pro Plan and how to navigate the templates. And then we got someone in the chat already saying, where is everybody? Well, no one's here because this is it's an evening show. I didn't announce it at all. I didn't advertise it. I just decided to get on and get live. And so maybe some people show up because we're going to be here for a couple hours. I know it. So I have not done a full construction document in the current Pro Plan. I do imagine I'll run into a couple things I'll need to update or fix, which is kind of the purpose of this, is that I don't know what I need to patch unless I truly test it or the community tests it and gets back to me with some patch fixes. This is very customary during a beta season, okay? It just means that I'm putting out releases that can't get fully vetted until you really, do a full drawing with it. And so this is going to be me doing full drawing. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that and do it efficiently. And you'll probably learn some tricks along the way. You'll probably learn about some features you didn't even know existed. And let's just get going with it. I'm going to get to the project browser. I'm first going to show you how I start a project with the Pro Plan. And so if you've got an assisted install or you figured out how to install this yourself, then you have a set of toolbar configurations here that should all show the project browser. And so the project browser, right now, I'm on a new toolbar configuration that is built for an ultra-wide monitor. You're only seeing part of my ultra-wide monitor, and there's going to be a bunch of icons on the screen once we start up here in just a second. Now, first thing I want to do is Pro Plan, when it's installed, is not pinned. This is a feature they took away in X18. They thought that was a bug from X17. So you have to pin this to get it to the top, which would be right-click and pin. I'm not going to unpin it. So then we just expand this, and I'm going to get into layouts, and you're just seeing zoomed right here. That's why the text is kind of fuzzy, anti-aliased, etc. And I have a brand new layout that was released yesterday. So that would be July 7th, 2026. And that's called the Pro Arch plus NCS. I want to try this guy out because I haven't truly tried it out. So I'm going to start with this guy. Now, all of these layouts come with the templates, all right? And by the way, in the description of this YouTube live is a link to go purchase the Pro Plan if you'd like to go purchase that. So in the layouts here, I'm going to use this one. I'm going to right click on this and choose make a copy with links to a project. And that will bring up this dialog box. And then I just click on new project. And so that creates a new project. And it only brings with it things that are linked to this layout, which are these 3 different plan files here, okay? Now I already have one started, so I'm gonna go get rid of this. I'm just gonna delete this real quick. I've got one Pro Plan example right here, and that's just because I used some space planning tools to get us going, because I didn't think you need to sit there and watch me draw a bunch of walls. So I'm just gonna open up the Pro Plan N. Now, notice that I changed the name here. There are a number of macros that utilize this -n and -ab. So yes, you can rename these, but you leave those -n or -ab if you are in a remodel workflow. At some point in this show, I'm going to show you how we change things up to do a new construction workflow versus a remodel workflow, because out of the box, this is set up for a remodel. But it's pretty easy to get this to new construction. It's just a few steps. So I can rename this to something that might make more sense to me. And so this is the X18 Live. And that will just help me when this is opened up in tabs and I'm searching for things such as details, etc. And new to X18 is you could right click on this plan if you'd like to, and you can pin this as well, and that would put it up at the top if you want to. Okay, so let me open this up. And you can see here, I've got some space planning boxes set up. This is how the Pro Plan opens if you're unfamiliar, if you're new to this completely. This is exactly how this looks, except for the space planning boxes would not be there. So what this is doing is it's telling you that this is a proposed file. That means it's seeing that -n. If we were to remove that -n from here, just say that this hyphen disappeared. Now you can see that it's seeing this as new construction. And what that does is it changes the labeling conventions in layouts for all of your layout boxes, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to put this back to -n, and we'll see that it's back to propose. So this remains there. We don't get rid of it. And then we've got a couple of things in here that we're going to get to a little bit later. And then we've got this guy represents an Arch D sheet margin or ANSI D sheet margin. Basically, if you draw your house within here, the layout will populate all of its views correctly. If you're drawing your house outside of this kind of blank area here, then the layout's not going to do as great of a job at automating for you. And it would be really nice if we automate everything, right? So that's going to be the easiest process, is put your building inside of this kind of blank area here, all right? And so we're in the working plan. The way the Pro Plan works is we've got a bunch of working views. These are things where they have layer sets established that are not linked to print views, meaning views that we've sent to layout for print. And so your print views are past those working views. If you want to navigate through the working views very quickly, you can always click this to open it up and then hit, like, say, the 3 key. You notice it's 3 working roofs only. I hit the 3 key, it's going to get me there very quickly. I hit the 1 key, it's going to get me there very quickly. So it's a very fast way of navigating through the working views. So I'm going to stick with the working plan view, and we can see again that we've got our, I've got a space planning toolbar open right now. If you didn't know this, you can toggle that on and off just by right clicking in your toolbars configurations somewhere in a blank area. And then you can see the toolbars drop down menu. And these first couple of things are things that I toggle occasionally, such as the terrain tools. So I just toggled the space planning boxes to be able to place these in the plan. And let me look at the chat every once in a while and say, hey, cool. Cody Starr, Ricky Hewitt's here. Thank you. All right. And if you guys have questions along the way, please. I'm going to keep looking over at that chat box to see if there's something I should be paying attention to. So I use the space planning tools to just put together this house real quick. And then, you know, it might be helpful if you decide to do this for yourself. Go ahead and save a copy of this. You can always just right click and say make a copy, and it will save its current state. And that copy will not be linked to anything. So you could drag it into some other folder where you're storing it for later. And so here we go. I've kind of got my house laid out. I'm going to hit build house, but before I do, I need to change something. If you're using space planning in the Pro Plan, you do want to change one setting. You want to get into default settings, walls, general wall, and make sure that auto merge collinear walls is temporarily checked, okay? Because otherwise, when we build this, it's going to make broken walls anywhere that one of these space planning boxes is. So it would put a break in this exterior wall, and we just don't want to deal with that. So let's just turn on that setting, auto merge collinear walls. And so here we go. I get to build this house, and it should be very simple. Now, if I were drawing walls, it would have been easy for me to just draw along and start, labeling the room labels. The room labels work in a particular way. I'm actually going to undo that action. I want you to note something here. Notice that this shows open below and it's using railings. That's because I had set that up as a stairwell. Now, it might be important if you don't want that setup where it's railings and open below, for you to instead set this up as some other room type and then go in after the fact and do what you want to do to create a stairwell in that space, because that's not exactly how I'm going to set up that stairwell. So I'm going to change this to hall and then just rebuild. And so we'll just start from here. Now I want to just start right off the bat by stating there's a couple of ways that you can set things up while we are in an automatic mode. For one, we're in automatic build foundation. So if you're in a region that needs a garage height to be adjusted to a specific parameter, this is your opportunity to do it. You're going to want to get into the build foundation menu. In the toolbar configuration, that is the ultra wide, or it's basically the bunny ears configurations here, these two bunny ears configurations, you're going to see the change floor icons here. Most of these toolbars are themed by commonality, okay? So the first three icons here are for transferring an old template into the Pro Plan, which we don't have official method yet. We're in beta still. Then we've got automatic roofs, so it's kind of a top-down thing. Automatic roofs, floor defaults, should probably switch those two. And then add a floor, go up a floor, change the floor, go down a floor, build foundation, insert a floor, and then these are going to be floor reference and swapped, and then change our plan reference files. Okay, so I'm going to get into the build foundation menu, and if I want to change that garage floor, now's that chance. Let's just say I wanted this to be 16 inches. That's where I would plug that in, and it's going to update that for us. It's also going to switch to that floor number. Keep in mind, we're still in the working plan view. All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and push this up a floor again. So I wanted to draw the walls at least so I could start to draw out some doors and do some things. You're going to see me just kind of work for a while. So there are going to be some moments, because this is live, where it's somewhat quiet. I need to add a bunch of interior doors here. I need to add a bunch of windows here. You might pick up some tricks on how I add them, but really that's kind of quiet, slow work as I go. So I'm going to start in on that. If you've got comments on the way, please bring them up. I would say it's probably going to take me, I don't know, call it 15-20 minutes to finish all the windows and doors, so you can just leave this on quietly in the background, and I'm not going to talk that much until we get to the next kind of step where we see how this is building this out in our layout and getting us to a construction document. I will say at the end of this, I should be almost complete with the construction document, meaning that in a couple hours, we're really close to finishing a construction document, at least a review document. All right. So, and certainly schematic design. Yeah, there you go. So I'm going to start doing doors. Here we go. So my doors toolbar is over here on the left-hand side. Sometimes I like to just take this stuff if I'm working on a particular thing and just undock it and bring it onto my screen. So I could just close out this space planning now, bring this door toolbar right onto the screen like that, and start working through here. And I don't know that I have a method that I want, other than I know that this is where I'm going to do the entry. Now, keep in mind, I did not draw my porch and I didn't draw a rear deck that I plan on having. I did that because it's just an old force of habit. It kind of forces that windows remain exterior type windows versus interior type windows, so that all my sash colors and everything come in correctly. So I want to place that before I build my porch and before I build my deck, okay? And so here we go. I'm going to pick up this midpoint snap. There's my front door, and you can see the automatic dimensions kicked on just now. So then I'll just do a fixed door as well, fixed side light. Start kind of working my way through here. Yeah. centered up all. This is actually going to be a doorway. Oh, silly. Shouldn't have done that. Okay. Let's see. This glitch is not in the current version. That's the sliding door labels are offset here. So most current version, I fixed that. So I must have copied this from just before I made that edit. And then I think I want big case opening. If I click on that side of the door, I can get to this. And so I'm going to want this 27 inches because I'm going to put a row of cabinets against here. And just going to do a nice big even number. Do I want a row of cabinets there? No, I don't, because I'm going to put a little doorway here. See that that's picking up that this is some kind of an automatic exterior type door, so it's thinking that it's a fire door. And yeah. This is good. And we keep open a lot. Oh, pocket door. Give this the opportunity to change this to pantry. This is going to be cool. This is actually going to be a mudroom. This is going to be a wet bar, which I might not have. I don't. So we're going to leave that as kitchen and then tab into. Now, I want to make this a little bit wider. Let's say 4 foot. This is going to be a staircase in here, but I'm going to wait till later till we establish that, because right now we're just going to do single story home. Everything up really close. 5.5 is really tight, but that's what I'm going to do on this project. I'm going to end up using part of another kit that I sell, which is my my pre-built showers, and that's just going to make this really easy for me. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do this shower here. Probably going to put a tub in here, just a freestanding tub, but I'm not going to get to that yet. I'm going to stick with some doors. I like to just stick with one thing and get as much of that done as possible. So, got that midpoint there. Actually, it doesn't matter. I'm going to just drag this over here. We're going to make this a center. Let's see. Door, door, door. Yep, door. Pantry. Oh, we're missing a door here. Just going to copy paste this guy across and change him to doorway. Cool. Yep. Exterior slider going on here. Don't want this to be yeah. And then typically I'm going to pull a 3D view to do my windows. I mean, that's usually what I want to do. So that's just over here on the right side toolbars. Got a bunch of different 3D view tools over here. So that's this guy right here. Please note in the Pro Plan perspective full overview, if we click on this, it's going to be a ray trace view. If you have an NVIDIA card, it's already set up to use DLSS, okay? And that means it's going to be a live ray tracing on the graphics card's shader, I guess you might call it. Otherwise, it's going to be a very low sample rate exterior shot, and it's got a very narrow field of view. It's at 35-degree field of view versus this camera tool right here, which is going to pull like I believe a 55 or 65-degree field of view. If you left click and draw, this is going to be your standard rendering technique. If you right click and draw this out, this is going to be a physically based technique. All right. And so if I right click and draw this out, we're going to see as this establishes, bam, there's also that DLSS turned on. But if we go edit the active view, we're going to see that this has a 55-degree, all right, which is very, very different from our 35-degree. So the 35-degree, great for exteriors, but you're going to see as we come in here that this is a little bit tight for interiors, all right? And for the most part, if you want to get a very good view on an interior shot, well, one, you're going to want all your windows in there, but two, you might want to actually put in some ceiling lights, all right? So that being said, once we get some windows in here, this should render out really beautifully. A huge part of the Pro Plan is that the materials that are included with it are the best I can make them. They are the most fast, efficient, low resolution, WebP based images I can put together for you. So really short, small file size, very small hit to your graphics card. It's optimized for slower machines for the most part. So this is just your out-of-the-box settings. It can look better than this, believe it or not. So it's out-of-the-box settings pretty good. And then again, perspective full overview. I like to just come out of here and, you know, in X18, we've got cladding profiles. You'll see here, I've got a really beautiful cladding profile on that roof shingle, right? And beautiful cladding profile on that siding as well. So, you know, part of this video is that it's going to be in the listing for the Pro Plan listing. Another part of this video is that I'm hoping that it goes fast enough so that other users can come in here and learn about some of the tricks and tips I use to get this condoc out so quickly. So that being said, I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to minimize my library and everything so I can get a little bit more of a full screen. I'm typically working on a really wide screen, and then we'll start placing windows. So I can dock this door toolbar again. I could pull out the window toolbar if I want and just kind of float around and start to work this through. Now, I'll show you some, you're going to see some tricks on me placing windows right out the bat. So place the window tool. I'm going to place this one time. For a lot of these bedrooms, I think I'm going to limit this to like 36. So I could either drag this in, hit tab or enter and type in 12, or the 3D dimension tool here, if I just drag this back out and do 12, is if I clicked on this, there is a dimension up here at the top. All these, the color right now, which is pink, is just coming from your color preferences inside of, global preferences within the program. So I could just hit this 48 there and type in 36, and that's going to get me what I want, right? For me, for this project, I'm going to do double hung windows. So in the window toolbar, there are quick tools to change the window type. So here's our double hung. We just hover over this long enough, it's going to tell us what this is. So double hung painter, I'm going to paint this. And then once I've got that painted, I can select this and in my edit toolbar, change the default so that I'm just using double hung throughout this project. So that'd be a really simple way of doing that. Same thing. If I want to open this up, I could get into the lights and maybe I want a 2x2 light set up here, something like that. And maybe I only want lights in the top or some style like that. And then same thing, I would just set this as default. All right, so that's a quick and easy way to just set your defaults real quick. All right, then I'm just going to use the copy paste tool, drag this over, hit tab or enter, type in 36. And now with two of these windows together, I can mold them if I wanted to. And very easily center them up based on roof line here. Cool. It's gonna be a real ugly house, I'll tell you what. I'm just gonna copy paste and center on this roof line, get that one going, and then I'm gonna do that one more time on this one. Yeah. And then I'm gonna toggle back through my tools to get back to the window tool, be able to place it right here. Something that works really well is just kind of zooming in here, center on, hover over the room, zoom back out. And now I know that is centered on that room. What did I do here? You know what? It didn't look like it made it quite over to where I needed it to be. So let me just cut that and paste it right here. Oh, and because that's a garage, I'm going to change the way its reference is. So this has got to go 16 inches up because, that garage floor is 16 inches down. You know what? My math might be wrong. I think I need a little bit more than that. So you can see if you just click on here and you click on this dimension, we could probably grab it, right? If we clicked on this dimension right here, and really, I think I want these to be gable ends, so we could do that as well. That dimension is 16 and 3/8. 16 and 3/8. There we go. It should be lined up now, hopefully. We'll see. Yeah, it looks like it is. Cool. So cycle back through. I've got a closet in here somewhere, so that window's going to be somewhere there. I love using placing windows in this view because it's really, really easy to resize the height without opening up the dialog box. Cody, the left click, right click for the different rendering techniques, is that a custom setting or is that stock Chief Architect? That is stock Chief Architect. So that's just coming in here into your, let's see, how do we do this? Camera tools, full camera, for instance, and then alternate rendering technique is right there. So you can set that up for yourself if you like. That's something that's been in my templates for a very long time now. I think I'm just going to do a single wider window back here. And I might make this a little bit different. Maybe I'll make this like a triple basement or double. Convention a little bit. Just have to fix those lights at some point. And stick a little window on either side of this. And I'm going to stick some windows here, but before I even do that, well, that's not true. I'm going to just stick them in right now. I'm definitely going to do a case right here. Probably do like a, what can I get away with? Who knows? Who knows what I can get away with? Because this is where my kitchen sink is going to be. So if I went with a 36-inch base, the widest window I can get without having to turn my outlets sideways would be what? Who knows, right? So I'd want 36, and I probably stick with 18 on either side. So 36, 36, 72, 6-foot window. So that's what I'm going to do. Click on this, 72, and I'm going to figure out where that window goes in a little bit, but we'll make this, it's a triple casement as well, except for I'm going to make the lights on either side a little smaller. So no lights in center. And then we'll go lights inside, and then we're going to make the component sides 12 inches. Maybe we won't do lights at all. Who knows? Bad design. I'm good at those. I'm really good at these. Let's see. There is a wet bar area that I want to hit a window. So it's somewhere here. And then I haven't figured out the layout on the bedroom yet, but maybe we do something like that. Whee! Not sure. Maybe we'll do this. This. Copy paste. Center that up. And actually that needs to be centered on this. I want one picture window. Fixed. And this is going to be a little moment above a bathtub, and I'm not sure what size I want that yet. And so I might not do any windows here. So I think that's it. And then looking at this roof design and how dumb it looks, you know, I'm going to probably pull this all the way through here. So we're going to do some manual stuff with the roof. We'll just do a couple gable ends here. Question from Damien. How do you get the window to sit somewhere between the interior and exterior stud framing? Can you expand on what you're asking there? I don't understand that question. Hard for me sometimes. Comprehension's pretty difficult for me on a live show sometimes. So if you could just give me a little more info, probably get it. Okay. Let's see. What do we got next? Let's go take a look at this overall, what's going on here. So we're going to notice a couple things that are really cool about the Pro Plan. I'm going to try to hit these things in a natural way as I go, but some of these things are just going to be like, you know, forced responses to things that are happening. Notice that some of these labels are stacked. The label is stacked because the Pro Plan has something in it that recognizes what the text size is. You'll see as I drag this out, it unstacks the label. It knows exactly the width of all these characters so that once the window, it's small enough that it's the same size as those characters, whatever that label turns out to be, then it will automatically stack like this. Okay, and that's just so that you can put one window next to another window and not have those labels overtake each other. So that's something that's built into this. There's a bunch of modifiers that you can do to the labels across everything here, including the room labels, cabinet labels, door labels, and window labels. And we'll get into that as we need to, because I'm sure that it will come up that we need to modify some of these labels, and I'll show you exactly how we can do that. So there's some really cool features built in for that label modification. The other thing that you might be noticing as we look around here is that some rooms don't have their ceiling height labels and some do. Something that you're going to notice is, for one, is I'm going to center this window up here because I'm going to put a tub right here. And so on either side of the tub, I'm going to draw out these little walls. And effectively, this is going to be something that I don't need to have a label for. Now in Chief Architect X18, we just get to uncheck the label for this, but also notice that the smaller that the room gets, the more that this label starts to abbreviate, right? And that's why it has no ceiling height label. But if this gets small enough, it's just going to make that label disappear by itself. All right. So that's a feature that I've written into this. This is all from some macro scripting. As you expand this, it's obviously going to expand that label. Same thing. As you expand this, it's going to expand that label. So a pretty cool little thing I've got going on there. So I'm going to make this like actually probably about 30 inches. Yeah. And something like this. There we go. And then I can click on this and just toggle that label off if I want to. And I'm actually going to take these and copy paste and reflect about the room. And then hopefully I've got something wide enough that I can fit a bathtub in there. Nope, not really. So we'll have to adjust some of this stuff. Maybe like 8 inches. Off. Cool. So that's where my tub's going to be. So yeah, that's why you're seeing some of these are stacked ceiling height labels versus not stacked ceiling height labels. It's all based on the size of the room to try to make this work out. Because I copied this guy, it's recognizing something about being an exterior door, so we'll just place this again. Line that up, and then, oh, how do I make that? There we go, just like that, 3 inches on the side. Cool. All right, all right, all right. Oh. So let's take a look at what's happening so far. I'm just going to do a preliminary thing where I build all framing just to take a look at what's going on in this. So I'm going to use the build all framing tool, which is top of the toolbar, kind of in the dimension area here. And so build all framing, it's always going to say, hey, we got layers we want to throw at you, every single framing layer known to man. And what you should do is always click no, because we don't need to see them because they're already set up the way they need to be. So click on no. Let's go open up the project browser real quick and let's get a preview of what's being built out so far. So here's that layout. Let's open this up. And this is what it's going to look like out of the box. You're going to have to replace this rendering with a rendering of your own of your building once you're done. I can show you how to do that once we get the design of this kind of buttoned down. In fact, maybe I'll kind of do that in the side while we're waiting. And then just a review of what's happening here. There is a project team here that we're going to fill out. There's a lot analysis already happening. Okay, design load criteria. And it's got a map here that you're going to have to replace. Revision history comes straight from your revisions. So if you wanted to add a revision right now, you can get over into the layout toolbar, which is way over here. All this is layout related. Okay. So we can see here layout revision table, layout page table, add a revision. So I could add a layout revision right now, and I could say, hey, let's go all pages. And this is going to be submittal, or actually let's just go schematic design and the date, etc. And the description is schematic design. Include in revision table, press OK, and that's where it's going to show up. Now, you're just going to have to edit and adjust this as need be. That's just nature of this. It's going to pop down, right? So you can adjust the column widths, etc. This is one of those elements that I can only automate so far. You are going to have to do some manual adjustment on some things. Okay, and let me take a look at the page index. You can see here the reason that this particular layout is called Pro Arch plus NCS is because it includes a lot of views that I don't typically need to include, but this is for a more complete architectural set For remodel workflow, I typically don't need these views. I'm going to use one of the other layout options that was there. But if you're doing new construction and you're in a jurisdiction that requires the NCS labeling conventions here, this is going to be the layout that you use. And you can see here it's organized really well with that page index. And like I said, there's so many features to this. We're not going to touch all of them, but we're going to get a construction document nearly complete. All right. So let me go forward a page. Here's all my spec writing. And then we can see here the building is starting to populate onto a plot plan. This next one is going to be a landscape plan if you're doing a landscape design. All right. Especially if you've got my landscape toolkit or my full library. And then next one is earmarked for existing. All right, and then one after that, that's where we're going to start getting this proposed. And you can see here, you know, we got it pretty centered on the screen for the most part, but even so, sometimes you just got to do a little bit of moving around. So this is that door schedule. It's a little bit tight. I might want to come back in here, and there's a really simple fix. This is why I want to review at this time. This is the perfect time to review your layout. Is you've drawn walls, you haven't placed any freestanding objects. This is the time to do this because I can take the wall tool, shift select all walls, and just drag this thing over. It's as simple as that. I get to drag this over, get it a little closer to the margins, and I'm going to get it away from that door schedule. When we come back and take a look, I'm getting almost clear of that door schedule, and I might have to do a little bit of adjustment on where exactly the layout box is clipped. Okay, so what's really nice about the newest versions is that it's utilizing a 1-inch snap grid. So it's really easy to just snap this over and expand it to where we need it to be. And before, you'd have to then go make all the adjustments on the next pages as well. Well, now, because it's just quickly and easily snapping, maybe those adjustments are a little bit faster. So this is a bigger project. It would have been nicer if this was on a one size sheet up. You know, this is just part of that management stuff. But let's keep looking through this. This is going to be our proposed reflected ceiling plan. Okay, and so this is going to show up if you're dropping in your lights. You've got some soffits or you've got some tray ceilings. This is going to show up in this particular view. By default, I'm not showing windows and doors. Now, there is no way to kind of block those out. So it's kind of difficult to do a reflected ceiling plan in that way. So maybe you want to turn on windows and doors, totally up to you. And then this is going to be that framing view. We're going to see that this framing view got offset. Why? Because we just moved the whole building. And so I need to rebuild that framing and say, no, I don't want to show those. So there we go. That'll fix that. And then I can just snap this real quick, right? This is going to just pick up that snap. And that's going to make sure that that label's in the same place. Very cool. Next view, this is where I typically am going to do a braced wall panel system. Right now in public beta, there are some problems with fill styles on cabinets where there are no countertops. And so the brace wall panel tool that I include in this package utilizes cabinets. And so right now the brace wall panel tool is not going to be functioning until they release their public version. So that is what it is. And you can see here I've got some labels turned on for the header and I've got some labels turned on for the door. You might want to turn off one or the other. I leave it there as an option for you to do some manual working. So if you're someone that wants to show both, then you're going to have to just do some offsets of the header labels. You know, you want to leave the window labels alone. That's what this is. The RO is the window label. And then the other label is from the header itself. Somehow in there somewhere. All right, let me show this. Close this view. And then there's our roof framing view. That's going to do, you know, an automatic roof vent schedule is built into this. You set that up from the auto build roof dialog box in case you didn't know that. So auto build roof, object information. Somewhere in here is the numbers. And this is referenced in the manual. And it's been a while since I've changed these because I always use the same roof vent values. Oh, maybe not. Where did I put it then? Aha. I don't even know my own system. Good job, dude. Good job. Oh, because I did something nice and I put it in some place that's more accessible. That's why you can't see it in there. I didn't think we were going to get into this so soon, but in text macro management, which is in the CAD menu, text macro management, or you hit this button up here, there is an all options macro. Now this is going to be really daunting looking to most people, but if you just come in here and hit Control A, Control C and open your Chat GPT or whatever AI that you want, then you could paste this to it and say, hey, describe to me what options I might have and what I might want to change for my region within these options. What this is a macro that establishes all of the core options within this template plan. It does have a whole section that describes itself to AI so that hopefully your AI does a really good job of editing this to your specifications. And so what you'll see in here is general plan options, cabinet label options. There's a way that you can set this up to hopefully match a manufacturer's spec in terms of labeling conventions. Cabinet price options. There's a custom cabinet pricing module in here. Window label options. There are options here for how you're showing type codes. All right, you could change some of these to XO for left sliding, right sliding, etc. Door label options, how do you want to display your door and window labels? All right, and then room label options. This is how it's going to abbreviate that label. These are the thresholds for when that abbreviation happens, which you could make adjustments to. You'll notice that some rooms, such as the garage, shows an adjusted plate height. That's in here as well. You can see here garage and porch. Those are for label options. Plate height label. There are some rooms that just automatically will not show ceiling height. Those are W period C period for water closet or walk-in closet or fireplace or chase. And then these are all the abbreviated names. There's a 3-level abbreviation stack on some of these. Or no, it's just a 1-level, sorry. So closet becomes closet, etc. You can see here when the room gets small enough, that's what it's going to abbreviate to at the midpoint if it can, before it basically makes it disappear. And then there's something called the annotation tool that does some awesome things as well that we're going to get into, especially once we drop in a staircase. That's my favorite use of the annotation tool. And then past that is some stuff that you don't really need to touch. So somewhere in here, probably the general plan options or something, I'm not going to really get into it, is how that roof is deriving its analysis. I think. I could be wrong though. But what I would tell you is go look at the manual, because I'm going to update it pretty soon, and the manual should have that information. Yeah, macro system. What else do we say? I wish we could do GIFs, but nice. Damien picture message retracted. I was still trying to figure out what he was asking about for framing. So let's get back into this. That's that roof framing view. This is just going to be a roof overview. Keep in mind in the Pro Plan, exterior doors are different from, exterior walls are different from interior walls. If you want to, you could come in here, select this wall, look in Aldo, and for this view, turn it off. What's funny is Chief Architect is changing my interior wall type from the space planning approach and turning it into walls exterior, when really these should have been walls interior. So I don't appreciate that. That was a glitch in X17 that I reported, so that glitch is still there. Because you should be able to turn those layers off. In fact, those layers are not supposed to be shown. So let me fix that real quick so we can see this correctly. A really easy way of fixing that is this tool in the toolbar, schedule for plan transfer. You just place this unblock it. Here's our different wall types. I'm going to choose that interior 4 wall type. I'm going to open all of them at once. And in terms of the layer that it reports to, I'm going to get it to the correct layer, which is walls interior. So that's what it should have been to. And then I can go ahead and delete these, just like so. So now, when I get back here, look at that. It's not showing those interior walls in the roof plan overview, which is true, correct. Let's get to a next sheet. Elevations are pre-sent to view, but they are not auto-updated. So you do have to click and update these. In the layout toolbar, you could update all views at once. Depends on your system's speed. It might take a while. Let me go ahead and do that. We'll sit tight for a second. I'll grab a little drink. Ooh. So I have a very fast system, and you can see how slow this is. This is why we don't have it set to auto update. In fact, usually I'll just click into those views, do my annotations, and I'll wait till right before I got to print to actually update these. But I'm just updating them so we can see what this looks like. Okay. So we're just going to expand that. And again, it should just pop to those snaps. Should be updated as well. We might actually want to slide this over a little bit. And we want that to pop to the snaps anyways, which is over there. So go. Move that one over too. And you can see these elevations. I worked really hard in trying to make these as nice as I possibly can. And it takes a lot of work because there's a lot of different ways that you could draw an elevation that will kind of mess up with line weights and stuff and not make it the, as nice as it possibly could be. But there you go. You'll notice that the window labels on the plan view are these kind of robust labels that describe what the unit is. And then in views like this, it's just going to be a label. All right. And got this custom fill style that shows on these windows. I don't really like the line weights as they're being shown right now, so I'd probably click in here and adjust some of these line weights. At the core of this, you can go and adjust things. It's not going to hurt anything. You can adjust things like line weights. And let's just go forward another one. This is earmarked for your plan from an engineer. If you've got something that you need to attach, maybe they're doing something in AutoCAD where they're showing all their markups. And so this is what this is earmarked for. Next page is our detail system. We're going to get into this detail system probably a little bit later. It's a really robust system. It's a really simple way of building out a cross section. We're going to build out a cross section for this building. So we'll make this make sense along the way. And then my individual 4x4 grid details. And here's our window schedule. Now this is something with Chief that I can't do anything about. This will resize about the center if you want centered text. So it's going to justify itself about center, which means it's going to jump all over the page. So you do have to come in here and do a little bit of editing. There is just no way around that. The simple way of doing this is in the edit toolbar, use the pan scale layout box tool, and you can just slide this to where you need it to be in order for it to get all on the page, right? And so there we go. And you might want to double click it. In this case, for this particular view, I'm going to narrow this down by 1. So I'm going to get into columns and rows. And then in the wrapping section, I'm going to say, hey, let's only do 8 of these. So that just shrunk it. Again, it shrunk it about center, which, you know, is unfortunate in my mind. That just means I need to move this over again. All right. And so then I can limit this layout box and kind of slide this over. And there we go. I got all windows on screen. Now this is a feature of the Pro Plan. This is something you're not going to see in anyone else's templates. I'm using a very custom font. That custom font, this is how this system works. I'll tell you how it works in case you want to make it yourself, which I think you'd be crazy to try to do that. The custom font does this. It copies your main alphanumeric text, okay, and then puts it to a different part of the font package, maybe in like the Farsi language kind of area. Then a macro recognizes that we want to apply that custom font to something, some output. All right, so it takes the information coming from your windows and doors and remaps it to that Farsi part of the font. And that's how this ends up looking like a rich text where we have bold and normal text inside of a schedule. There is no other way to do this. So it's kind of a complex system, especially for it to run as fast as it runs. So this is something that's very unique to the Pro Plan. You're not going to see anything like this. This is us trying to match kind of like AutoCAD in terms of display of schedules. So I find it to be a really aesthetically pleasing schedule. And you can come in here and modify and remove things, but you won't be able to do a lot of really custom things in some ways. I do want to note that, you know, again, we're in beta. There are some glitches that come from Chief, not necessarily from the Pro Plan. One of them is that mold units are no longer reporting the NVP called frames or jam or something like that. So it's causing this error. I am working with them on a fix for that, but this particular frame depth here is not going to work. So I'd have to go in and overwrite or hand write in what I want to output there in the mold unit. That just is what it is, unfortunately. And then here we go. We're seeing something kind of interesting. We're seeing some partial doors that I must have turned on at some point. And so I'll have to, again, this was part of doing this live, is that sometimes I need to fix a few things. I didn't think typically that it would show doors if the wall was not displayed. So this must also be some new glitch that I need to report, because this did not used to be an issue. Because I do not want to turn off doors, because that turns off my exterior doors. So this is something new. I gotta go report this. This is coming from Chief as well. Those shouldn't show if the walls are not showing. So very interesting. It seems that the walls are somehow showing. And they shouldn't be. Let's just try to turn those off. Okay, that seemed to have worked. That was very strange. All right. And so that's typically what this looks like. You can see here that instead of the extensive label or just a call out label, it is showing those window labels here. Here's one really, really cool trick about the Pro Plan is if we are doing a remodel workflow, which right now let's just consider that we are, then in that case, we have a tool in the edit toolbar, excuse me, in our toolbar configure where this tool right here, it's called the scoping tool. If I were to just spray this window, for instance, it's going to add the prefix E. And then if we go find this in a schedule, and we try to find that particular window, which I might have trouble finding, you're going to see that in the header, it's going to say not applicable. There it is. It is selected. So header not applicable, it's going to say ref opening size, existing not applicable. It's seeing this as an existing window. It will still report to the schedule, but hopefully that helps you out for those of you that have to do energy code calculations. You have to send this in to someone to do all your calcs for you. Now you know this is existing versus a new window. It still needed to be reported here. So that's the commonality there. It does not automatically change your solar heat gain coefficient and U factor. You're going to have to manually change that yourself. And then something else to note that's really cool about the Pro Plan is, we got a few bedrooms in here. A few of these didn't get labeled for whatever reason. And so, or they didn't get toggled to be labeled. I'm not sure where. Okay. These are all supposed to be bedrooms. What happened? We lost these. They were there before. Boy, it's got some funny stuff I'm running into. Call that a bedroom. Cool. So for instance, if I were to go take this, where we have pretty small operability here, and this needs to be an egress window, I open this up and designate this in the options panel as egress, and then I go find this in the schedule, which it should be right here. It's saying egress passes. That's probably because the combination of these two. So maybe I need to make that very complicated macro even a little bit more complicated. But for the most part, if something doesn't pass, it's going to list it and list the reason why. So for instance, if this window was labeled as egress, but it was very small, and we opened up that schedule, and we see where that window is. You can see here, criteria check. Opening width was okay. Opening height is where it failed. Also, the net clear opening area is where it failed. Sill height was okay. So kind of a cool feature that's built into this. Go back a couple. And then I see some comments coming up. So let me see what these are. Has there been any improvements to print to PDF in X18? What improvements are you looking for there? I have not had any problems printing to PDF. I'd be curious about what you're looking for, Damien. And is there a way to show the roof tile trim on the barge rafters? What are you looking for? Are you looking for, you're looking for the like a 90 to cover part of the fascia? Right? That's just going to be a shadow board with an offset, and then you need a profile, right? And then created a custom font, but you mentioned that they changed room labels in X18. Just wondering if we have to do away with it. No, we don't. If we can do away with it. No, the room labels in X18. Like I said, Cody, go look at the Pro Plan. I know you have it. So you can see exactly what I'm doing there. That's about as good as I can make the room label system. It really works super well. Let's see. But no, we still need a custom font. We still do. We've been pushing hard for it to get rich text and labels, but we're not there yet. Okay, and then yeah, another couple things that we could do, because someone said, hey, nice feature about the window. Thank you very much, the design guy, is that throughout this system is in the object information panel for windows, cabinets, doors, and rooms, label replacement does something, all right? So if we just type in something, this is going to replace the type code. You can see that. This is a way to override a particular window. If you want to change type code universally across the whole plan, you're going to do it in that in the all options macro that I showed you earlier, that you plug that into AI. But if you've got an individual use case thing where you've got to modify a label and you still want to leave in some of the smart features like window order overview, automatic labeling, right? We don't want to circumvent that. Then there is a backend, which is the label replacement field. Another thing that this can do is if we add a plus in front of whatever we're typing, this will append it as a suffix past whatever type code is there. versus putting the plus at the end. It might seem inverted to some. That's just how my brain thinks. Plus at the end, this is going to see it as some kind of a prefix that needs to go before everything. So this is kind of that back end feature that's in there. And then this is very useful in some cases, especially in room labels, and you see why. Maybe I just want to blank out and not show this ceiling height in this particular room. Get into that object information, hit a character space, just the space key, and it will blank out that ceiling height label. Let me open this up again and show another thing. If instead, let's just say, for instance, that this room has no ceiling, and so there is no way for Chief to report what that vaulted ceiling height is. That's kind of left up to you. So if you need to change the way the ceiling height is reported, that's where we're going to want to come in here and just type in whatever we want here, and we'll do it in inches. So for instance, I'm going to say 76 inches to a ridge beam or something, right? And so it's going to automatically format this for us, 6'4" to ridge, for example. And I could have put plus in front of that. It would have left the vaulted part as well. So I put a plus in front of here. That's a way that it's going to show vaulted ceiling, 6'4" to ridge. And another use case for this might be that you might have dropped a soffit in here, so you actually do have a drop ceiling, but Chief won't see that soffit as a reported value in the ceiling height macro. So that's how you're going to manually override what the ceiling height shows and type in your own. Is going to be a really useful feature as you kind of get into all the little details here, where you don't want to have to necessarily delete this label and drop in some kind of text box and try to match the existing rich text style room labels. And so this rich text style room label is still coming from that custom font. And then just to address this question, because I have plenty of people that want to use their own custom font, is that in the Pro Plan installation package, and in that step 1 font files, is that there's a create your own folder. You're going to download FontForge, which is a font application, and then you'll open that up. There's a video about this already. You'll open that up. Once you've got that opened up, you load up your font, which you must have downloaded. And then there is a way in FontForge to execute a script. And so you'll execute this script. It will automatically create the custom font that you need. Once you have that custom font, boy, I wish I had one on deck right now. Maybe I do. Let's just, let's go FontForge. Let's try this out real quick. So I'm going to go load up fonts from wherever the heck my fonts folder is, which I have it in assets, fonts. And let's go find like some kind of an architectural font. Architect's Daughter, why not? That's a fun one. Architect's Daughter regular, okay. This opens up FontForge. It's been a while since I've done this, so we're going to give this a try. Execute script right there. And so Python, and when am I going to execute that script? How do I find that script? I think I just, boy, do I just drag and drop. Oh no, I have to copy paste what's in here. So you're going to open this with a Notepad++ maybe? I don't know. I have a video where I did all this and now I forget it. Now let's try this. Does that work? I believe that did. And so that did it right. We should be able to. Oh, there's a little error message down here. Should be able to generate fonts and regular split. Yeah, regular split font. Cool. Generate it. We'll see what happens. See if I can load that up. Don't save. Fine. So what I'm going to do then is in the plan, replace fonts. So edit, replace fonts. We're going to target that Rab's custom font is what we're going to target. The only problem with this is that we have to install that font and we have to shut down Chief before it recognizes new fonts. So I'm going to just close out all my views and save them. We'll do that real quick. This is what I love about X18. This thing shuts down so fast, opens up so fast. If we were in X17, I wouldn't want to do that because it would just take so long. So let's get into my fonts file that I just built. And we said architects.regular split, and I'm going to install it. It's installed. Let me open up X18 again. Cool. Cool. Yeah, no, that did not exist before. I put that in an update package to create your font really quickly and easily, and hopefully it does a great job every single time. And so there's our X18 live. I don't know why it's looking for Century Gothic. It does this every once in a while. If you've figured out why, I'd love to know. And edit, replace fonts. Let's take out Rab's custom and Architect's Daughter split. Let's see what this looks like. So there we go. Full height superscript, rich text, non-bold. Open up the schedule. Look at that. It's working just like it should. Very cool. Very cool. I'm going to undo that because that's a really hard font to look at right now. Okay. Find that printing to PDF rich text looks muddy while regular text looks nice and sharp and clean. I am using Arial font. I don't have experience with that because I don't use rich text ever. Because you can't ever, globally replace it or anything like that. So I can't comment on that, Damien. I'm sorry. I'm faking a rich text style, but I'm not actually using rich text. I find it to be very temperamental too, so I just don't use it. And that's why I went through all this work to make other things look like they do use it. Yeah. Okay, where am I at? I have no idea. Let's go look at this layout again and see where we're at with that. This next view this starts in the eyes. This is interior, so this is kitchen. This is typically where I've got just something sent to view at a 1/2" scale, and all you're expected to do is use the pan scale layout box tool and get this centered up so that your kitchen is in view. And then you're going to have to adjust this layout box to get it to show up the way you need it to show up. That's it. That's all there is to this. So I just want to adjust this so that it shows that kitchen clearly, and we're at a 1/2" scale, so it should show it pretty well. I have no idea why the room labels keep changing. This is some kind of glitch. It's funny that I think is coming from having used the space planning tool. I'm not sure, but this was not living room. It was labeled kitchen before, so I don't know what happened there. That's really strange. Also, I'm fairly certain that everybody saw me label these as mudroom and laundry room if we go rewind. So, we're in beta software. Beta things are going to happen. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. That's a funny one. This is for building out spec. We're going to get to this. So actually, let me start drawing out a kitchen so that we can see what happens here. And then let's also just figure out why the heck is this? So the original space planning box was bedroom. So maybe that's why it's reverting to this. I don't know. But these rooms keep changing names on me. Unless I use some tool I don't think that I used. Yeah, look at this. This is changing all the room labels. It's very strange. Changed all the room types. Boy, is that strange. Someone can tell me when I did that. That'd be interesting. All the room names jumped. apply something? I'm like, I'm so confused. Way to ruin my video, Chief. No one's gonna buy my stuff now. What is this? WT. That's not something. Okay. It's like the rooms all jumped. That's really strange. Really strange. Oh. I think that's almost back to normal. Okay, cool. Odd. I wonder if that's when I use the edit area. I bet you that's what it is. You guys remember I did it, or I selected all walls and I shifted it left. I wonder if somehow it remembered where its rooms were and shifted everything with it. That's an interesting glitch if that's it. I bet you I'm the only one that finds that out for a while. Someone should test that. I'm really curious now. Very, very curious. By someone, I mean, that's probably going to be me. Okay, let's just put together a quick kitchen. Let's take a look at the kitchen tools. I mean, these are probably my favorite thing about this whole system, is it's really, really easy to place and modify tool kitchens with my kitchen tools. We can obviously do it in a plan view. Everybody knows how to draw a kitchen in a plan view. The other thing that you could do is you could just pull an elevation view and do it that way as well. This could be another approach that you might try. I do know that there is a glitch in beta. I know we're not supposed to be talking about glitches in beta, but you know what? It's kind of unavoidable. Well, for one, this is a feature in beta. This will now show room labels. Keep that in mind because you might want to toggle them off. All right, and you could just do that for the whole layer set. If you don't want to see these, just turn the room labels off. All right, and then all I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a range right on this wall. Bam, just like that. And I want to center it in between those two doors, or centered in the room, and those two doors maybe need to be centered. So come up with it there. This is going to be a really short little setup here. Let me copy, paste, duplicate about. Yeah, I think I want to move those so that they're centered up. In fact, we'll make them the same size. That makes a lot more sense anyways. And also means that we might be able to put something against the wall here. Oops, that did not do. I thought it was going to. You don't want to get to 3 feet, huh? There we go. There we go. If we just take both of these, center it here. And maybe I want to center these walls too, based on this room. More sense to me. Yeah, well, design cues, right? There we go. Now we can get back into here, and that should look a little bit better. Now here's my kitchen tools up at the top of the screen. These are single click actions to do really complex things super easily, like make these 2-drawer bases. I'll just drop in a little hood. I think I'm going to change the overall height of this plan. Typically that hood would drop in, but the correct height would be there. There we go. And then this is one of the glitches, is that it's very hard to center on an object if there's no flat surface. So that's going to get fixed in the final release, just so you know. Chief will fix that. So I can't center that based on the range, unfortunately. I'm just going to get to a little 3D view here. I'm going to show you how to super quickly adjust your plate height. I like to do it from just 3D. You could do it from floor defaults. There is a tool right here that's floor defaults where you could change the overall height here. But instead, I'm going to come into the 3D, select the wall, tab into it, slide this top edit handle up while I'm sliding it, hit tab or enter, and then type in 12 in this case. That's what's going to make it a 9-foot plate height as opposed to a 8-foot plate height. You can see there it is, 109 and an eighth. Pretty cool. Another glitch is that if you click this top edit handle and click on 109 and eighth and you try to resize it, it's actually going to try, it's going to change the floor as opposed to the, top edit handle. So report these things. Help me out. We'll help them fix this stuff very easily. So there we go. That just raised that plate height. So make it a little bit easier for me to design my kitchen. And so I'm going to just center this up on that cabinet because it is flat in the front. And then I'm going to reduce this a little bit, and I might reflect it about itself so that it flips its door side. And then I'm going to use in the wall cabinet tools the glass wall upper tool. So that will be see-through, and we'll use copy paste and reflect about. Something like that. Sweet. And of course, I'm going to want a backsplash. Now you could place your backsplash, or if you want to draw it out, that's going to mean that there's going to be no breaks, which I prefer, and click the bottom edge of this. And maybe I'll just zero this thing out all the way to the bottom, who knows, and zero it out all the way to the top. And then I can snap this to the side of this cabinet. Same thing, snap it to the side of the cabinet. And you can see here that it is labeling this. So I have a macro in here that's picking up what that material is. So if you use the adjust material tool, it is just picking up that this is white subway tile. Now, unfortunately, I love to put my name all over everything. I'm trying to correct that. So this macro does look for the name Rabs and kills it. Thank you very much. So hopefully that reports your material correctly. Hopefully you're not using some manufacturer named Rab, because otherwise it's not going to show that information. So this is a really easy way to draw this out, right? Super simple. If you want to get pretty clever with this, we could edit this so that we're not clipping to the room, and so that we're not doing a back clip either. So we're going to see some things in the next room if they're there. But then in the toolbar over here, you can turn on the depth queue, and you can use the depth queue and kind of slide this so that we see those cabinets, and then it kind of shows those doors, in the distance there, kind of faded out, which might look nice. And then the automatic elevation dimensions tool, this will get you there pretty quickly. Again, there is a current glitch in beta that should be fixed by the time they release beta, and that is that I use a custom stacked molding here, wall cabinet molding here, that happens to be 5 5/8. It also happens to be that it has 3 molding profiles in there, which is why I think it's doing this glitch, which is picking up basically 3 molding profile heights. I don't know. I just reported it. Hopefully they get rid of it. So if you're building a construction dock with this, just know that you're going to have to do some manual cleanup. There's just no other way around it. It's going to do this. I've tried everything I can, and it's just because of that molding. If you remove that molding, it does not do that. So there you go. Now, something that's kind of cool and clever with this is because we raise this plate height, and maybe I want to have these wall cabinets go all the way up to the top. All I'm going to do is, I already know that this is 5 5/8, right? So I can just say, hey, 5 5/8, and then I want to hit tab. We're going to make this resize by that amount, resize to that amount, as opposed to move to that amount. So I hit tab to highlight that little double-sided arrow, spacebar to commit it, enter to input, and there we go. Now I've got this butted right up to that ceiling. Isn't that nice? Super simple. So 5 5/8. Cool, cool, cool. And I did need to kind of flip these, actually, don't I? Flip that about himself. Flip the door side. Yeah, that worked just as well. Very neat. Now, I am in, right, if we click on the layout, where are we at? The very next page is what I have earmarked for elevations. So this is where we could take this cross-section view and just kick it over to elevations. And so I'm going to do color fill, 1/2 inch, and sweet. So I'm usually going to drag this down some of those snaps, right? And so if you want to, you could do a little point to point and pick up one of those snaps. I have them displayed as dots. I can see them on my screen. It might be difficult for you to see them on your screen, but there we go. Now I can snap these to just those 1-inch markers and very easily place this on the plan where I need it to be. And then I could line these up once I start producing some more of these. So let me produce another one. Let's do another little elevation. We'll do this side this time. Let's just do it from a 3D view. Why not? So I know that I want a cabinet dead center here, and that cabinet's going to be a 33 or a 36. I'm going to make it a 36, and then use the center objects tool to center this. So while I still got cabinets, I'm going to go keep placing this. This might be a dishwasher. I like to just place the cabinet because I've got the cabinet tool active. And then this last little distance between the wall is 5 9/16. So I could resize this just 3 inches, and the rest of this might be filler or a scribe, right? Really easy to come in here and add a scribe if you want in box construction. 3-inch max scribe. That's going to make it all the way to the wall. Fill that in. And then I will just flip this to the other side since I had already placed it. So I got this selected. Not doing something. Oh, it is doing something. Let's just try this again. Select about. There we go. I'm going to use the dishwasher tool in my kitchen tools toolbar and click in place. That will automatically build and place that dishwasher and complete that countertop. And then I'm going to leave this. I'm actually going to make this an 18. Why not? It's kind of a small kitchen anyways. I'm going to toggle back through my tools to get back to that cabinet tool. And we're going to put 2 more units here. And we'll go ahead and put a left extended style on this guy as well. And then to design this out, I want this to be a garbage pullout. So I'm going to use my kitchen tools. Single click action, bam. It's going to make that a garbage pullout. I'm going to make this a 3-drawer base. I'm also going to make, I'm probably going to make these 2 end ones a 4-drawer base. I love drawers. Why not? Or actually, this is, yeah, I'm going to make this a 4-drawer base because we're going to put some maybe full height units inside of where the wet bar kind of is. I haven't decided yet. We'll see. And then same thing, 4-drawer base over here. And we'll click and place a sink. Oops, somehow I clicked both of these for the garbage unit. But yeah, let's place a sink. Come on, do it. Yep. This, we're gonna make this 36. And it didn't go to 36. I swear I typed that in. I don't know. Is it not going? Are we seeing me type 36 or am I crazy? Okay. This has nothing to do with my template, so I want to make that disclaimer. Let me hit F11. Maybe bumps is getting in my way, so I'll type in 36 again. There it is. Bumps was stopping me from resizing that, oddly enough. So, in case you run into that one. And then let me make this 2-drawer. This is seeing this as a garbage unit because we had already clicked it as a garbage unit. So I'm going to have to place a new cabinet. And 3-drawer. Cool. Now typically I'll match these end units. This is 24 and this is probably a 27. So yeah, a little off on this run and how everything's configured. I'd probably do some work with that, but let me just place a 24 here. Center this up on the one below it. I'm going to change that height again. And we'll make this a default. Oops. That's interesting. It will flip the door side, but it won't flip the style side. That's another one. I'm gonna have to go review this and start reporting some stuff. Oh, and it looks like my windows, that's what's going on here. My window's not centered in the room. Someone forgot to mention that to me. I blame you, Cody. You forgot to mention that one to me. So what do we do about it? I'm going to get rid of this or resize this real quick, but then I'm going to take this whole run here and center this up on that. Let's get rid of this wall cabinet that doesn't work out very well. And we're going to extend this guy. Turns out this changes some things, so we'll just make this zeroed out. And we're going to make this, here we go, 36-inch unit. And maybe we'll get rid of this and do a 36-inch unit side as well. Zero this out, not resize it, and then we'll just let it pick up its 3-inch snaps until we can see that little dimension there. And we want that to be less than that 3 7/8, so I still feel like we're not centered somehow. But that's okay, I'm going to leave this for right now. Okay, there we go. Great opportunity for us to start dropping in some outlets and stuff. And then also, again, you could just click place your backsplash. Just know that it's going to create a bunch of breaks. So sometimes that's not ideal. It's also going to stop at the top of the cabinet as opposed to going all the way to the ceiling. So, you know, I can go one way or the other with this. Sometimes it also stops short of the walls because we've got those extended stiles. So I don't know that it's any faster to click place. The initial placement is, but adjusting it seems to be slower. So I might have just drawn a rectangle there instead. And then in your edit toolbar, you can simplify this if you want to. And cool, we've got basically another elevation. So I want to place a couple outlets. So I'm just going to get into my toolbar at the bottom. These MEP tools are all included in the Pro Plan. You got tons of symbols here, tons of them, right? So you just come in here and find the ones that you need. Now the Giphy is right here, right? So I need this right tucked up against that window. Actually might need to pull it a little distance away. Boy, we're running into another glitch. We got plenty of them today. This happens because the DLSS, we've got some, maybe it's a memory leak thing or something like that. If you're running into this where it's flashing, go ahead and edit your active view and then change native resolution, super resolution to quality, and it's going to get rid of that problem for the most part, I think. Yeah, it does. So there we go. And then I'm going to just place a couple outlets that I know that I need. Just like so. Yeah, that sink definitely does not look like it's centered on the window, or the window is not centered on the room. Window is centered on the room, sink is not. Aha. Guys, one more time. Man, I'm screwing up here. Get to see me make mistakes, man. Just squeeze 36. Boy, that's gonna be tight. This is still no way that this is centered. Okay, your question. Are they still defaulting to 8-foot ceilings in California? I noticed that's your default. I would imagine with old Renos that's the case. Yeah, because this leans remodel first, we're oftentimes remodeling an 8-foot ceiling height. I have played with the idea of making it a 9-foot ceiling height, but you know, all the regions are different. People want 10-foot, 8-foot, 9-foot. It's so easy to change that I just leave it at 8-foot. That's really what it is. It's, you know, it takes less than a minute to set that up and change it. So that's why I've been leaving it. Let's expand this guy a little. 33. Say. Cool, cool, cool. All right. All right. Get this elevation going. Then I'm going to show you guys a trick. So I'm going to pull this elevation. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and do auto. Again, we're going to have to fix some of this. Pull those out, pull these out. Auto will never pick center of window. You're going to, or excuse me, casings on windows. So you're going to have to pull those yourself. All right, so that's how we would do that. Otherwise, this looks pretty clean. Now, if you just save this view, which is right here, save active view, and close this window down, right, we're gonna save it, blah, blah, blah. If you get back to layout, you could just copy paste this, slide it over. If this is easier for you, that's just what I'm doing, is I'm gonna relink this to that elevation here, okay? Elevation 2, closed elevation 2. I relinked it, and then if I just center this view, there we go. Now, keep in mind something here is that we can always, because it's plot lines, we can always do a point to point and snap to the floor. Okay, so I'm going to snap to the floor, and then hold shift and slide this over. That's going to keep it aligned. Now I can draw the bottom of this and snap it to the layout box next to it, and we know that the labels are aligned as well as the floors. All right, so that makes that really easy. And then maybe I want to change, you know, the direction arrow on this. Who knows? Totally up to you. Right, maybe I want to make this arrow going up because that's plan north and this is plan right, etc. Now, if you get into the project browser, and let's just see here, there is a trick that you can do some automatic labeling with this without having to name those elevations. So you can obviously do a custom named elevation, but instead, if you wanted to, you could also use a method that's called the room name method, which is, I'm going to open up this, get into those cross sections, elevation 1, elevation 2, and so I could say that this is percentage sign, room name, percentage sign. This is something that's just buried in this feature set, and notice that it says proposed elevation elevations. If I get into edit this page information, kitchen elevations, this should have picked up kitchen. So I might have done this invertedly. Let me try this again. Copy this, or cut this rather. The space dash space is important in the labeling convention. So there we go. Now notice it says proposed kitchen elevations. If I edit the page information, notice the comment section says kitchen. If I were to name it bath, then notice that this just changed to proposed bath elevations. So this is a built-in custom macro system. This is for when you're doing like production level of wall elevations. All right, and you're just copying elevations and dragging them into a new room over and over and over again. And instead of having to rename them every time, if you're copying them and they have this room name macro in the label, it will do an automatic convention. All right, so here we go. Room name, percentage sign, bam. And we're going to see that there it goes. Now it's proposed bath elevation, proposed bath elevation. So you might want to indicate which direction it is. Who knows? Totally up to you. But I just get to change the comment section to kitchen, for example, and it's going to fix those. All right. So that if we duplicated this page, for instance, and I edit this and I say that this is now bath, and I even change this to say, hey, bath elevation, and our sheet index should have updated as well. So we should see bath elevations there, right? Then if I were to go back to my plan view, grab these two, copy them, bring them into this bathroom, okay? And then just adjust these to where I need them to be, all right? What's going to happen is when I get back to layout and I go take a look at this, for instance, let me relink this view, and I'm going to relink it to this new elevation. Now the preview should show that this is that bath. All right, so there's what I'm relinking to. And I'm going to recenter this and kind of get that floor aligned the way I want it to be. So I might drop in a CAD line as that updates in a second. And so I'm going to draw a CAD line to just make sure my floor is in place. And this is centered. Yes, it is. And so all I get to do is come in here. And obviously I haven't done my vanity or anything in here yet, but I'm just going to use the delete dimensions tool and then auto dimension again. And there we go. That's pretty much it. You know, we're seeing a partial wall through this. That's because we had unclipped it to room. So it might be that we edit the active view, go back to clipping it to room because there was some side clipping there, and then delete those dimensions, auto again. And that's all I have to do is close this down, save it, and then go update this view. And there we go. I've got bath elevation, right? It's a really simple way of doing it, as opposed to like having to rename all those views and pull new views and yada yada. So maybe it saves you time on a production level if you're just doing, you know, a series of elevations over and over and over again. All right, so that's kind of the method there. The next thing that I like to do personally for this is, you know, this particular elevation, it did matter where I placed this stuff, so I don't want to clip the sides here, but oftentimes, and this needs to get updated because we have cabinets in the way here. So a couple things we're going to fix. So we're going to go in here, open this up. These dimensions right here, we're going to get from the elevation to the left. So oftentimes, I'll just delete them. You could obviously just highlight them by switching to an intersected selection view and just kind of highlight and delete. I think you can also use just the manual dimension tool and drag it through here, and that's going to delete it as well. That's another way you could do that very quickly. And then in our toolbars is this guy right here, Rab's Cabinet Fill. Just click and place this. It's a CAD block, reflected about in this case. Point to point move, pick up that very corner snap, place it there, explode it, and then drag this up as need be. And so that's blocking out the side of our cut fill on these cabinets. All right, and so that's what I want this to look like. So again, notice I got rid of the dimension strings over here. Why is that? You're going to see when I click this, click yes, update that view, is that we're just picking up those dimensions from the elevation directly to the left of it on the sheet. Unless, you know, you've got some really unique upper cabinets, etc. Hey Renee, this is Gregory over in San Leandro. Hey buddy, I just jumped on this live. I've got a book some for you to do a pro plan update of this fantastic template. Hey, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't wait till people start using this. I really can't. I'm very excited for when people start really pumping out some sets because I can't wait to just see people respond to just how quickly this can get done. So because we're picking up these dimensions, we're picking up, in this case, dimensions all the way from the left-hand side. So what I would typically do is open this up. And then again, if I just wanted to cycle back through my tools, I could get to that manual dimension tool and just drag through here, and that simply just gets rid of that. That's just that easy. Close it down. We know it's going to update. And then I'll just scoot this over. So I'll slide this over, the cut itself over. I held control to override snaps, hold control to override snaps in this case, and then just single arrow push is going to push this at 1 inch at a time, and then you can back it out by holding shift and do slight nudges. All right, so that's an inverse action that I have set up in layout. So there we go. This stacks up right to this, and we're getting our dimensions from this side string. So that would make a lot of sense there. Pretty cool. So this is getting there, right? We're getting our elevations done. If you want to change materials, I know the habit is that we go and use the material painter and change these materials very simply. I would encourage you to not do that. All right, there is a better way to do that. One is I'm going to make this a full height sync unit. And by the way, since I haven't shown you this, there is a exhaustively difficult set of macros that try to figure out what your cabinets are and hopefully are labeling them correctly, a lot better than Chief Architect labels them out of the box. So you're going to see 4-drawer base 36, blah, blah, blah. There is a convention that if you are doing some depth that is not a standard depth, it's going to add the depth to this. Same thing. This is all in that all options macro. So this is showing width and height, but if you change the depth, it's going to add that depth as well. Notice when we painted this glass, it's going to pick up that glass. There we go. So, what was I getting at here? I forgot what I was doing. Oh, so I want to show you this. This is just our working plan view, but these labels don't actually print, believe it or not. And that's so that you don't have to fight the call out to place it where you need to place it, to move it around obstacles and things in ways that make your elevation look correct. And I've, from years of fighting these call outs, I decided to make a system that just makes a lot more sense and no one's ever questioned it. Not from the builder side, from the many, many places I've drawn all over the world. And so here it is. In the toolbar, there is this guy. I call it the rows, call out rows. You're just going to drop this in plan anywhere it's convenient. It means nothing. It's just there to be informative. So we're going to drop this in plan. Here's the next thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to take it and I want to link it to one of these views. I need to open this view to understand what it is first. So it's elevation 2 is the room name. All right. Plan display is E6. So elevation 2 room name. So I'm going to take this in the edit toolbar, link the view. I'm going to find that elevation 2. All right, room name. Press OK. It now picks up the page that that elevation is being sent to. And it indicates that we've got 4 elevations in this case on that page. Now you can modify this. Obviously, we could come in here and get into the attributes and change the number of arrows to 3. Right? And then just slide this one down to indicate we're going to have 3 different elevations here. And that would make a lot of sense. When we get to the kitchen plan view that's actually being sent, this is all you're seeing. So you get to place this wherever it's convenient for you to fit on the sheet. Isn't that pretty cool? All right. So let's keep designing from there. I'm going to just finish this up. Why not? I'm going to put a little full height unit here. And then beyond that full height unit, we're going to pull this, call it 3 inches off the wall. We'll do a little left style. And then I'm going to use a pre-built refrigerator here, just like that. I'm going to do another full height unit. I'm going to spray it with the oven tool. That'll get me this. So I'll just bump that over a little bit, and maybe I will put a really small base unit, and let's not question my design choices right now. I don't want to hear it. How about that? Not the best design I've ever come up with. Let's do that. Oh, I forgot that that's got some kind of extended style on it or something. That's got something weird on it. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So let's get back to that working plan view, working kitchen and bath view. Let's pull that wall elevation, get this last one going so that we've got it. So here's what I was coming back to was if you want to change the materials, there's a really a better way than just using materials straight from the library, and that's getting the defaults. It's not as fun. It's not as sexy. I know it's not, but it works better. Okay. Get into materials, choose the cabinet door drawer. So you're shift selecting those things. Now go choose the material that you want. All right. And so I don't know, maybe we'll do an alder. And so that's going to uniformly change everything for you. That's what we should be doing. That's a much better approach. If you're using my materials, the actual color of the material is going to be true to what we want it to be, but the vector color of the material should be lighter if you're using my materials. And that's to make a display like this, where it's very clear to see those vector lines against this cabinet color, because otherwise this cabinet color would be too dark, right? And so now we're just going to make those final adjustments, 5 5/8. And, you know, if we wanted to, we could just grab the fact that this is 102. So we can grab these two and just open them up and set them to 102. Very cool. Throw in a little backsplash, bam, like so. And then do our auto dimensions. We know that we can choose the manual dimension tool, clean this up, right? Oops, get out of here. All right, fine. And then leave this one alone would work. And yeah. And again, we know that we could just close this down or save this. We want to save this as, we're going to do that same convention. Just so that we're utilizing it. Why not? And then this is going to be, yeah, I'm just going to call it elevation room name. What is it? 3, I guess. Bop, 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 bop. And maybe we can fit it in here. Who knows? Slide this over. Doesn't really matter how we slide it over because we could do a little point-to-point move. We're going to relink it. If you uncheck keep layout box contents, you uncheck that and link it to this, then it will just auto center for us. And then it would be really easy for us to just do that point-to-point, get it to that floor, slide it over just enough, and then use those arrow keys as we need to kind of bump and nudge. We know that we're going to get rid of the dimensions on the right side of that other one. So that'll get updated in just a second. And then we'll slide everything over and we'll adjust those layout box heights. We could take this guy, copy paste it across the other side, and you might slide this forward by holding shift point to point. We'll move this linearly and then kick this back and bring them up like so, right? That would be the way we do that. Bam. Yeah, we're at the 2-hour mark. I thought we were going to be. This is probably going to be about a 3-hour video, 3.5-hour video. But at the end of this, maybe I'll keep going on it in some other session to show some more like finishing things. And then we'll have an example set. Cool. So we want to click this layout box, adjust the bottom, snap it to the one next to it. Same thing, adjust the top, snap it to the one next to it. Perfect. Grab all 3 of these, slide that sucker over. You can hold shift while you're doing it to move it in a linear way. Cool. Get this. And notice that the layout label is attached to the very end there. So it is important that you kind of slide that over. And then we're going to just adjust this guy. Bring him right around down. And it's not letting me bring him down. Why not? I think that's because of snaps. I'm telling you what, I can find problems anywhere. I'm telling you. I'm going to have to go rewatch this dang 3-hour video myself just to report the bugs I'm running into. Dang it. Man, do I not want to do that. Okay. And let's update this view just so we get that color in there. Looking good. Looking very good. I like it. It's looking sharp. For this, you might even be able to fit, that last thing in here. I'm gonna show you an island. I'm gonna show you some of the kitchen tools that are really, really cool. And then we're gonna move on to something else. I like to place my cabinet up against my appliance, then slide it over the distance that I want. In this case, I want 42 inches. Now I know I've got a 42-inch clear width in between the front handle of this particular range, and now I can start designing this out. And in this case, maybe we'll just do a really linear approach. Why not? We'll do something really, really simple, like so. And then we could take these 3 cabinets, copy paste, reflect about the back, and I have an island toolbar right here. If we just drag this into place, and you can see here, if we hover over this, 12-inch front overhang. That's actually what I want. My edit toolbar is right here. I'm going to switch to marquee mode and draw a marquee to contain all these cabinets. Actually, I'm not in contain mode. Now I am. Contain all these cabinets. That makes them 12 inches. Excuse me, 12-inch front overhang, marquee mode. There we go. 12-inch with a 12-inch overhang. All right, simple enough. I'm going to do a flush toe base on these cabinets back here. I'm going to do a full height double door. This is something I commonly do. Or full height single door, as it were. And then front side cabinets, maybe I'll make them all 2-drawer bases. Maybe I'll make that interior one a microwave cabinet. So that's this right here, object. So microwave drawer cabinet. I'm going to have to adjust this and adjust this. There we go. Obviously, we're going to have to move that kitchen label. Maybe we'll bring it in here. Something like that. And then the last one that I want to do is this guy, change material quick tool. Marquee over all this, it's going to change that material color for me, right? And so quickly, I've got something that looks like basically what I want it to look like. And let's just throw this back into its place. And let's pull another little wall elevation. So I guess we are going to use 4-sided. So if I selected this, there should be a way for me to add an arrow there, just like that. Isn't that simple? In fact, maybe I'll make that tool so that you always add an arrow, because that would be probably a better workflow, right? Since we can add but not subtract. So here's my wall elevation. And so here's what I like to do here is, we're going to use that same CAD block fill style deal here. Bam, just like that. Remember that you can unblock it, slide this up, and then copy paste it about room. Again, we're just gonna kind of click point, hold shift. That will move it in a linear way, and then slide this up. And this is a new feature in X18, automatically sliding that up like that. Very cool. Here's the next part. Turn that depth queue on again. Why not? Use the depth queue. Slide this until you see your island and your toe kick. Bam. Super cool. And then maybe you don't want to clip it to the room anymore so that we see the living room beyond. That'd be cool too. All right, now you're seeing the living room beyond. Auto elevations. You know, use this tool to just clean up that section. There you go. Or just pull these pickers out, because we know that was a little glitch. And send this to view. I'm still going to do point to point to slap this next to these other ones, just so I can slide this label down so that it matches. So everything's the same offset. And then it might be that I flip to the previous page and even get that kitchen plan inside of here, so that someone doesn't have to go back a page for this. Or it might be that I put the spec next here. Now we do get the opportunity to take a look at what this spec fixture thing does. I'm going to double click this, open this up, and I'm going to make sure that first floor, this is going to clear all, and the only thing that we want to select is kitchen. All right. You have to actually draw a kitchen for this to populate. So you're always going to have to edit this. And so the way this works is this is going to list items that are in this kitchen, right? And so some of these, you might have some installation spec on. If you open up this schedule and you take a look at columns, rows, you're going to kind of see what exactly this is made of. What this is saying is the A column, as it reports to the schedule, see A, right? A, B, C, D, E. A is actually coming from the width of the fixture. B is coming from the height. C is coming from the depth. D and E are coming from macro input 1 and 2. That's really important, because if we were to just tile this for a second and then come to that layout, and we'll notice a couple things. In this case, this diagram, ACBD, so macro input 1 might be something that you place on the hood itself. So if I select the column that's got the hood and I open the row object from the toolbar, then if I get an object information macro input 1, which is where D would be, is I'm going to say 30 minimum. Guess what? That's going to show up in this column. Now it's making sense, right? ACB, right? ABC, that's representing my ABC right here, 36, 48, 20, right? And then D represents 30 inches minimum. That's what we're looking at there. So for example, if you know what the minimum cutout or installation height needs to be for this, you might specify that here in D and E, which is macro input 1, macro input 2 of the double oven. So I'm going to find the double oven, open that row object, and let's just say this is like, in this case, let's call it 53, and maybe it's 24 or something like that, 25 and 11/16 or something. You know, you want to put the inch marker in there. That's going to make a lot more sense. I didn't on that 53, but there we go. Now when I'm looking at the spec, I know what I'm looking at. The next part about this that's going to make a difference is you can select this in this plan view here. Oops, if we double click this and get into there, you can come in here and select this and slide this up and down to match a particular install. and it will auto update this. This is a very fast way of producing spec. Okay, that's what this is all built for. So if you're doing spec, this system should just help you out. And so on this page, now we've got a couple of these updated, is I need this center line 41 inches above the finished floor. Look at the spec here from this schedule. And so the last thing I need to do is pan scale this so that I get it onto the sheet. You can hold control to or circumvent the snaps. And there we go. That looks correct. All right. Same thing here. This is my outlet convention. So you can highlight these things and slide them up and they'll just update those dimension strings. Cody, thanks for hanging in as long as you did. Very cool. And then the design guy, Ken, can you explain what you do when you do the Pro Plan install? Are you talking about the assisted install? With the assisted install, I will show you that. We're going to get a little off topic here, but you know what? Don't mind doing that. So in the Pro Plan, well, one is I help you set up your title block information. That's one big part of it. I'm just going to guide you through that process. I then typically show people a couple of the mainstay functions of the Pro Plan, how to get it all set up, how to get it started. And then something that I will do in the assisted install, which is an add-on price, is I'm going to install your libraries for you. I'm going to install your toolbar configurations for you and ensure that they're all linked up and that you know a few things about the libraries. I typically also rearrange your project browser and your library browser parts in a way that I think are going to work better for whatever screen size you're working on. I also will go into your preferences and change a few things and tell you why I'm changing those things and how they might affect you and how you might like them better. And then the other thing that I do is I set up the CSV system, which will read from things like job trend, builder trend, or anything that can output to a CSV. And so the CSV system, if we were to just go search for this, and I'm going to limit this search to only open projects. And so we're going to see, here's that X18 live new keynotes CSV system, is that this is actively reading from a CSV file on my machine. And so I'll set this up for you, and it takes a bit of configuration. But in the object information fields, there are things such as this file field where you're going to locate the CSV, and then there's some inputs here that help you designate which rows you want to be reporting. And then once we have an example CSV to set up, then I will change the input names of these to match the column headings of what you're reporting from, or at least what you would like them to be called. Once that's all done, then it's very simple to just copy paste this around your plan, and you'll see it's just pulling from the next row of the CSV. Isn't that cool? So instead of writing spec twice, you're writing spec once. You're writing it in your CRM, and then you're dotting your plans with this, and it's a really simple way to get your spec straight from your CRM, builder trend, job trend, blah, blah, blah. So this is built into the X18 Pro Plan. And I think it's just a really fantastic implementation of it. There's a trick to making it work for automatic numbering. It took a lot to figure that out. I don't imagine that anyone else has, because it's a pretty crazy setup to get it to work. And yeah, it's working. It's a beautiful thing. So great way of just, designating spec. So I will also help people, if I have time, set this up on what sheet to go on. Just know that that assisted install, it's really only a half an hour block. So I get as much done as I can. If you're helping to do some of the prep work, then I get to do more on my end with that time. And thanks for asking. I encourage everybody to get the assisted install at least one time and maybe screen record it so you see what I'm doing and you can replicate it at your leisure. Okay, we're getting through this plan set. Let's look at this next view. We're still in interiors, I think. Here's where we're getting our cabinet schedules built out. Again, you're going to have to use this because it's center justified. You're going to have to use this to kind of place this and do a little bit of modification to get all this on the screen. There we go. And there we go. I'm fitting most of these cabinets. Oftentimes on a larger cabinet order, I might actually have to go in here and change a few things. I might have to, like, you know, if this isn't fitting, I might have to change the gutter distance. So the distance in between all of these would be something that I might have to change. Or one of these is so complex that it's reporting in a simple certain way. So I might go back and change the schedule to only include kitchen items. So a few things that I might do here. Keep in mind, there is a custom pricing module in here that is totaling, okay? So when this is totaling, that's great for just kind of understanding the overall price of something. I'm not really sure why that's showing error. I've never seen error before. That seems to be coming from this refrigerator, which means I need to update a library object. So something to do, okay? What I'm going to do to fix that is object eyedropper tool, grab something that came from the plan and clear all and just find custom fields and apply this to that refrigerator only if I can. I'm going to get rid of this little block thing. Is marquee bam. And did that fix it? It should have. Custom field, bam, 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 there we go. So custom pricing module is saying that this kitchen is currently it's $30,000 in its configuration right now. Yeah, you'll have to check with your custom cabinet guy, send them your order form and see how close that is. I know that my cabinet guy is very close to this price typically. So that's a nice little feature of this. Now, to get this all on the screen, because it's not quite fitting all on the screen, I'm going to push it up one and then bump it down some, and I might be able to just fit it in between the margins, and the margins are super tight. So there's one thing. In that all options macro, though, is a auto column width. Without it, you will have different width columns no matter what you do. So you need that macro to maintain the same column width. That's the problem with what we're seeing here. And that's just why this is, you know, such a big setup here. We might remove, you know, the estimate. That's going to help us shrink this down. So I would just double click this, open this up. The way you read this again is that before the semicolon is what it's coming from. After the semicolon is what it's reporting. Double quotes just means that it's a blank heading, and that's all that is. So I might get rid of the comment section because I'm not going to use it for this, and I might get rid of estimates, and so that would shrink this down enough to fit on the sheet, no problem. We close this view, and we can see that this does in fact fit on the view. Now nice. And scale layout box tool, hold control, kind of get it in place. And then this is for cabinet fillers. I'm not going to use this for this one, so I'll just get rid of it. And so this next page is when we're getting into electrical. Now, if we just come in here and start doing a few things, we're going to see that electrical should be pretty intuitive. We just get to start placing these around the room, blah, 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 however you want. Not going to pay attention to it right now, but I think that everybody knows how to do electrical. We've got so many great things in the electrical toolbar. I'll show you a couple ways to do this. So our dishwasher switch will mount to a cabinet. It will actually, sometimes you can trick it to mount to a side of a cabinet if you leave a little bit of space. But the other thing that you might do is you can place this dishwasher switch like this, open them up, and if you want to, if you need to, you can, in the options panel, change this to floor mounted, okay? When you do that, it's very, very easy to rotate this symbol and place it wherever the heck you need to, especially if you've got like a push button switch or something like that, all right? And then obviously, you know, place your switches, you can gang them together, really easy to gang them together, you know, copy paste, slide this over, oops, get it on the right side, select those two and use the gang tool to get this to gang. For some reason, it's not letting me, probably because I placed it on that side as opposed to this side at first. And also seems to be placing on some kind of backsplash. Man, I'm telling you, I'm finding these glitches, Chief. I'm finding it because this worked perfectly well before. I'll tell you that. I will tell you that. Let's see if this works now. There we go. There's our gang. Cool. And then obviously you can pull these nodes and start building this out, right? I prefer to use the electrical connection tool because you can right click and draw this and do a continuous draw mode. That works a lot better. And so if we did change to the reflected ceiling plan, we should see those, especially if this room had, say, a tray ceiling in the room, right? So tray ceiling is going to show in that reflected ceiling plan as well. Switch back to that electrical plan view. Very cool. Now, something that shows up in layout should be an electrical legend, so we'll be building this out. The comment section is an opportunity for you to put any kind of code complaints lingo in there if you want to, but this will start building out that electrical legend, and this is just how this electrical view works. Now, I want to show you something that is very remodel focused, okay, which is I'm going to take this view. I'm not sure why we're getting some lag all of a sudden. That's strange. Don't know. I'm going to take this view, copy, paste. I'm going to slide it up. I'm going to do something kind of strange. I'm going to shrink this layout box a little bit. Oops. Let me get my edit toolbar out of the way. Shrink this layout box. All right, we can see what it's targeting here. What I want to do, I'm going to actually get it right off the page here for a second, because I'm going to show you a really cool trick before I restart Chief, because it's really lagging suddenly. Is oftentimes I need to show smoke detectors outside of these bedrooms, and I might not be showing a full electrical plan. I might be showing partial if I'm just remodeling one room. But I still have to show those smoke detectors no matter what. They want to see them. That's just what it is. So I'm going to try to get this on the same page. Here's what I do. I use pan scale layout box. I'm going to get this hallway right zoomed in. I'm going to zoom way, way in to get to some crazy scale. Okay. So that we got this to the point where I can shrink this down. Right, I'm going to shrink the display of this down. Now, once I do this, there we go. I'm going to shrink this down just to show that hall. I'm also going to maybe drop in some text that says, you know, this is bedroom, right? But here's that really zoomed in. I'm going to relink this in this case. I'm going to relink this to smoke detector requirements. Oops, it did actually pan that around. I guess I haven't done this in a while. Let me just expand this so I can find that dang room again. Oh, well, here, we'll show this bedroom, for instance. Now, if I double click into this room, I do believe that it has its own text layer. It is using, if we turn on Aldo, it's using electrical zoom. It has its own text layer, okay? So this is an opportunity for me to just say, you know, bedroom, and get that into this. Notice that the size of this is quite large, so you might just hide all of the room labels and instead label this yourself. So I could copy this and send this to hall. The reason this is so large is because I'm typically showing this at, I'm sorry, maybe a smaller scale. Boy, it's been so long since I've done this. So this, I have a symbol in the library for carbon smoke detector. If you open up the library, where that symbol is much larger than you would imagine, it's right there. And so that's what it looks like. It's just this blown up symbol like that. And so this is the whole point. I built this so that when I needed to, I could easily show that I'm meeting those requirements. So actually, it's that I might want to zoom out of this. be able to show multiple rooms. That's why the font size is so large. So this can show that, hey, I'm showing multiple rooms here and I'm meeting those requirements. There's that smoke detector. Okay. So that's built in here. I know it's been so long since I've used it. I was a little confused about how I use it, but there you go. Let's keep reviewing some of the sheets here. Here's our plumbing plan view. Okay, pretty self-explanatory. It's got its own keynotes set up. It's got same thing with the HVAC plans. And then we're getting to energy compliance forms if you need to attach those. Now we get to start finally messing around with some of the annotation tools and other features inside of this thing, such as the detail system. So one of the things I want to do right away is pull cross-section in this view, because this is where our cross sections live. So I'm going to show you that the back clipped cross section tool, it's helpful if you pull this in a view such as the working roofs view to understand how your framing might be set up for this. Okay. And so I want to do a back clipped cross section through here. Now, another way you could do this is going through the framing roof plan view so that you really understand where this is, or you can even get into the working framing view. The working framing view clearly has color-coded framing members for you to better understand exactly where these framing members are. And so I'm going to pull a cross-section view that's back clipped right here, and I'm going to place it right in front of my roof rafters in this case. All right, so right in front of the roof rafters. Now this is set up to have a framing back clip, and I might actually want to get in front of this part of the building over here as well, especially because this is a gable end, so I might want to get right here. The framing back clip is 24 inches. So you can take this all the way pretty much to the ridge here, and that's going to make for a really good looking setup, right? So something I might do just as a reference is I might just quickly draw a line here. That's just going to be my reference. Cycle back to that previous tool, get my cross section here and snap it to that line. Okay, that puts me right at that ridge line. And let's take a look at what this looks like. Out of the box, and let's just build all framing, say no for it to turn on layers. That's going to update this because we changed the ceiling height. Okay, and there we go. This is what this is looking like. There's our garage beyond. So we did hit the garage wall. Maybe we want to pull back from there. Who knows? And then if you hit the auto detail, there we go. We're picking up some of that detailing. You might want to clip some of this. You can always choose a polyline tool like this and just do a little intersected selection and go through like that and delete some stuff like this in case it's not helpful. But here we go. It's going to do some of that fill stuff. So in this case, maybe I pull that back clip back a little bit more, but I do love that it's showing, you know, part of the house, etc. Now, something else I will do is I'll edit this active view and I will clip sides. This will bring up the CAD clip lines if you say yes. And so then I can slide over to see the CAD clip line over here. And maybe all I need to do is clip this to the very edge, something like here, okay? And maybe I also want to pick up a back clip as well. So I'll edit the active view. Back clip is already there, but maybe we'll change that back clip to 100 inches instead. Okay, that's really getting us to kind of a clean cross section. I'm going to use that polyline tool to shift select all the polyline CAD fill, delete it all, and then redo that auto detail. There we go. And then the last trick about this is if you don't want to have to heavily detail something like this, then instead what you could do is choose this guy right here. Grabs label callout. Drop this into plan, draw out the arrow, which is a 25-inch arrow, and make a couple copies of this guy. Copy paste, bring this up. There we go. Copy paste, bring this down. There we go, right? And so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to link this to something in the layout. Now let's make sure it's in the layout first. So let's get into those S sheets. And so what we're going to link to in this case, there's a couple ways we could do this. We could link it to a 4x4 detail that's here. That might be an easy way of doing it. So one that's here is typical wall. Notice we've got two typical walls here. We're going to want to get rid of one of them or switch this to typical wall 2 or something like that. Really easy to just relink these views and have them populate. So we want to link to this typical wall is one of them. Another thing that we might want to link to is some kind of typical rafter connection. So I could just take this one, let's relink this, and I'm going to search rafter. And we don't want to find stuff in the as-built plan. We want to find stuff in that new plan. So in the 4x4 grid details, here we got a rafter plate connection. So I can just relink to that view. Keep in mind when you're relinking, and let me go back a couple, make sure that you have that one box unchecked. So, or checked in this case, keep layout box contents position when relinking. That's important when we're linking to details because they're drawn in the same XY position. So I'm going to search for rafter, find that rafter plate connection in this case, and it's going to place that exactly where I need it. So those are two of the details I need. And then maybe the last one I want is this slab with drainage. So when I come back to this cross section, I'm going to take this one, link it. That's going to be that typical wall. We're in the 4x4 grid details. We're in the new plan, typical wall. Bam, right there. That's picking up exactly where that detail lives, and it's populating that information. This is a particular trick that's really difficult to write in script. So this is one of those things that's great for automation. It's going to limit your liability no matter what you do. If you change where that detail lives on that sheet, it's going to automatically populate the correct detail number here. There's no other way you can do that without a custom XY position sheet macro. So that's what this system is doing. It's passing across XY from plan to layout. And so this one is going to be, we're going to go drainage here. So I want the 4x4 grid details, slab with drainage. We're not actually doing slab with drainage. We're actually doing stem wall with drainage. And this last one, we got some rafter plate connection. So let's do rafter plate connection. Bam, just like that. This was actually part of a cross-section detail. So you can link these to cross-sections. They're going to understand that this is part of a cross-section system. When we go back to layout and we notice this, so we're linked to this stem wall right here. That's that cross-section that it's linking to. So this is how this is all set up. This is how this works. One is let's build something that we've actually got. I'm going to leave this one alone because we're actually going to do a little walkout basement edit before I'm done with this video. So we're going to just concentrate on this one. And this is set up pretty much the way we want it, except for this top piece here. So I'm just going to relink this to that rafter to plate connection. And I'm going to make sure that it's in the stackable details. So rafter to plate connection in stackable details. It's drawn in the same XY. There we go. This is pretty much exactly what I've got. This is exactly what I want drawn. I could, of course, kind of expand it and bring this detail in so I could take these two up if I wanted to, or in this case, I could just relink them if I wanted to, but let me just slide these up. I'm going to do just the shift slide these up. I'm going to copy paste, shift slide this down. And what I want to link to now, I'm just going to relink this and I'm going to say wall for this matter. I want to make sure that I'm in the new plan, find the stackable details. Let's find the walls, typical wall. There we go. That should be it. And so I can just kind of nudge this down if I want to. Bam. Does this look exactly like what I need it to look for this cross section for that part of the house? Yeah, it actually does. Looks exactly like what I need. But these annotations might not be correct. That's where the annotation setup comes into play. I'm going to just hit the #1 key, get back to a working plan view. I'm going to see this detail designations. It's a call out. I'm going to open this up. Okay, so just double click to open it up. This looks like a complex system. This is about as easy as I can make this to look. And so you can see very quickly here, all I have to do to change my designations is take an existing annotation, and slide it into place. That's going to be a first floor, and then you'd have to do a second floor as well. If I need to, I could find this object in plan and duplicate it. All right, paste, hold, position, and it's just a bunch of notes stacked on top of each other. That's all that's happening here. Notice this just showed up because I just duplicated it. So I just get to slide that into place. Now that's in the first and second position. When I come back to my layout, we're going to see that all this just got updated. So all of these annotations are driven by a system that take less than 20 seconds to designate. That's how easy it is to make cross sections in this template. So it's a pretty powerful setup in that way. It's gone through a bunch of different changes over the year. It just keeps getting better. I just love it. Also, this comes with a library of these annotations where you just get to click from the library into plan and it will place those annotations. So if I come into the library browser and I find the user catalog, Rab's library folder, the Pro Plan Tools folder, Detail Annotations Designations. So for instance, if I needed to figure out what the framing wrapper is for the system according to that detail designation, I just place this text box, and this is pulling right from that system. So if I go back to that system, and we see that there is roof framing right here, and slide this up, and I come back to that plan view, it just changed. Isn't that cool? If I need to add to this system, all you're going to do is find one of these objects in plan, duplicate it. You could slide it up if you want to, if it makes it easier in your mind, open it up, and in the object information panel under label replacement, you can type whatever you want in whatever way you want to. Slide this up to that number 1 or number 2 position for floor number 2, and there we go. When we come back into that plan view, now we've got whatever we want somewhere in here. Type whatever you want, Raptor. Another part of this system that works really well is that, not every part of the world uses Doug fir number 2. So maybe you're using spruce. You're just going to slide this up for first and second floor. And in this case, you do have to double click and open the schedule and just close it down. And it will commit that change to everything. And you can see SPF just changed everywhere. All right. So makes it really, really simple. And we've got a ton of categories here. So pretty simple to build out that cross section. Do I want to save that? Sure. I'll save that cross section window. I'm imagining no one else is watching this stream anymore because it's so dang long. 2 hours and 30 minutes. I'm glad you're sticking with it. If you are, hopefully you're casually watching it and you're just picking up on something cool that you might need to move forward in a project. So there you go. Just because I'm thinking about it, because I'm looking at this, the major thing I would start to do here is, start dimensioning. And so one of the features in X18 that you might not know about and works really, really well in the Pro Plan, and I've updated my dimensions to take utilization of this, is that when you start using the manual dimension tool, it's got a really low reach. So you do want to draw it right on top of something if you need things such as door sizes, etc. Okay, so really, really low reach in this tool. But what you can do is you can hold the S key. That will bypass dimensioning certain things so that you can then just pick up dimensions past that, all right? That pink section represents what we are bypassing. All right, I do see something I need to fix. The working plans favorite remodel manual is picking up center of openings. I typically would pick up our sides of openings in dimensioning in remodel. So we typically pick up sides like that. But yeah, you can hold that S key and bypass dimensioning that door for a second just to pick up the wall and keep going. Really, really simple way of doing that. All right. Now let me shut some views down. What I want to see now is, and before we get too far, I don't think I quite finished this kitchen. We obviously didn't finish all the electrical, but something to note is, just because this is unique, is the rope light in this tool is, if you draw this, I believe, clockwise, This is actually a directional rope light for me, all right? And so if you draw this clockwise, directional rope light, if we go take a look at under these cabinets, okay, so it is counterclockwise that we have to draw this, okay? But yeah, if you draw this counterclockwise, that's a directional rope light. It's a lot nicer of a setup than the out-of-the-box rope lights. Just like that and that. Let's go take a look at these. Yeah, and that produces some really cool light. Isn't that neat? Looking good, looking good. Change a couple materials here. This is not using the default, that's okay. You can use the automatic, the whole room or even the full plan, automatic add eased edge. That's going to add an eased edge profile to all these countertops, and then it's easy to just pick a different molding profile out of your library. So let's just say OG for instance, and hover over it, click and replace in a plan mode, and that will as well. Get rid of this tray ceiling because I don't like it. Also messed up my cabinets. That. Yeah, looking good. There's a couple other things in here. You can always double click a couple of these tools to trade for your favorite stool or your favorite pendant light, but out of the box, this is the stool that I'm using currently. Select next side. Get to that top side, flip that around. And something I like to do for cabinets like these is quickly just select all these and convert this to a custom countertop. Now you used to be able to do that from this view. You just have to very specifically select the top. And so there's the custom countertop. So instead of that 12-inch overhang, I actually want a 15-inch overhang, and it's as simple as that. And then now it's really going to be easy to copy paste, center, and copy paste. Cool. Okay. Now let's get into some of the, let's see, I think I'm ready to add a floor. Yeah, I think I'm ready to add a floor. But I also want to show how you can quickly change your wall fill layers in X18. But also, let's just say for argument's sake that this is our as-built and we're going to add an addition on the end of this. All right. So the process for that is that I'm just going to take this existing plan that I have right now. I'm going to, in the project browser, clear out my filtered here, and I'm going to choose the as-built right here, and I'm going to use replace with. But what I have to do before then is close down my layout and save it. Okay. So in the case that this is our as-built, we drew it in the new plan. So we're going to find the as-built plan in our project browser. We're going to choose replace with because this thing already has some views sent. So we're going to choose replace with. It's going to warn us this is being sent to a layout. That's okay. We want to replace it anyways. Expand this. Find our open tab right now. Hit select. It's going to prompt us, do we want to delete that source file? In this case, no, we do not, because we're still working in it. Notice we're still working in it. The as-built didn't open. All we did was inject the current state of this into that file. All right. So that when we go and open up that layout again, and we get to the page where that as-built is, which you could always do from the project browser if you'd like to, is we could expand from the project browser in the CAD details not CAD details, in the pages section, and you can find that existing plan right here. And so there we go. That got injected in. And we know that we needed to expand this out. Just like that. Something I like to do, by the way, is I do like to use construction lines to note our various wall locations. So I use the construction line tool, which is way up here. All right. And I will just dot all of these major walls. And I'll usually pull them right off of a dimension string just like that. And if you just pop that down to infer, that's how this works. As you pop that down to infer the center line, it's going to automatically renumber for us. That's really cool, right? If you don't care about its alignment at first and you're just trying to get them on the plan real quick and you're placing them all crazy like this, right? Because you're just trying to get those to reference, then it's really also easy to just do this. You could draw a line, you could take that line and use it as a fence to extend all of those construction lines, right? And then you could bring that line back if you want to get them a little bit tighter and do the same thing. Use it as a fence to clip all those construction lines and delete your fence. And that will get those all in place. Just makes it really easy to place those. So again, I like to draw them in short or long. Either way, actually. Draw them in long, you're just going to be cutting. And cutting sometimes is easier than extending, just to help you see. So just draw these in long if you want to. Get to your line tool, get it nice and tight to your dimension string, take your line, use that trim, and then hit the delete key. Just like that. That's looking really professional now. Let me go ahead and touch, since we're looking in some of these construction tools here. Here's another call out tool. It's the same kind of idea. Is we get to place this. You can see that it's creating a half check on the wall. And then you can, of course, link this to something such as like that typical wall. All right, so typical wall one. Another thing that we can do is we can choose, there is one more in here typically. Let me just see where that went. Is that in there? I thought it was. Let's take the call out tool. I'm going to place this. I'm going to bring out an arrow and connect it to the wall. So that's a little bit different of a workflow. Bring out an arrow, connect it to the wall. I'm going to link this to something very specific. Now this is in beta and I'm not sure that it works perfectly out of the box, but we're going to check. So I'm going to just search wall, and in our 4x4 grid details, this is it, wall detail 1. So we're linking that to wall detail 1. Now wall detail 1 hasn't actually been linked to our layout yet, so we would have to get into those 4x4 grid details. Of course, you could open this from the project browser. It would be probably a lot easier to do. I'm going to take this, relink this, and then type in 1 to find that wall detail 1 real quick, coming from the new file. There it is. We come back to the working plan. We see that it's populating what detail number it is. All right. The other thing that it's doing, if we double click this, it navigates to this. The other thing that it should be doing is picking up this information automatically. And it does not seem like it is currently. So, looks as if I don't quite have that set up yet, but this will, at the time of X18's final release, this will pick up information coming from that wall, is the approach there. Okay, that's the thought, is this is going to automatically annotate by picking up from this wall. Another thing that I would like to just bring up right now is I'm going to do a little side-by-side action here. I'm going to bring in this. I'm going to go to my layout and I want to note something. There's a very particular look and feel going across all of these details. That much is clear. Every single detail is deriving its fill style from the layer that polyline is reporting to. There's a bunch of custom layers in the Pro Plan. So if we look at this, I try to limit custom layers because that ends up being really hard to scale to a team, etc. But this is one of those things where I had to. It's the only way I could do it. So you can see here in Aldo, there's a bunch of layers called details, and you're going to see a little description of what they are. You can modify all layer sets. Be very careful with this setting, because if you leave this checked, you'll be messing up layers left and right if you're touching other layers. But click modify all layer sets, and you're going to change the fill style of things here. All right. So for instance, or in this case, the layer color. So details insulation, I could change this to turquoise. What's going to happen is all of our details just change their insulation color. I could change the footings or the stem walls in this case to some other concrete. Let's just say I want a little tighter concrete pattern, for instance, and maybe I want to pump up the line weight on this to like 15 or something like that. And maybe I want to change the background color to a little bit darker. All right, there we go. It's going to edit all of those fill styles all at once. Same thing with like the framing layers versus the sheathing layers. Maybe you're using zip wall, so maybe you want this to show as like a green, you know, maybe not neon green, but light green kind of a thing like this. And so that's going to change all that sheathing, right? It's going to change all that to green. There we go. You can see that. Same thing, change your framing to maybe something darker or lighter, or maybe you just want to show it white. So just use the background color and that will white all those out. So very, very quickly, you can change the way all of these details look. That's very new to the Pro Plan. This is all because of the new layer-based fill styles. So other things that follow those layer-based fill styles that might be new to people that are coming from X17's Pro Plan is the wall types themselves are all reporting to very specific layers, all right? So if we open up a wall type and we go take a look at how this is working, siding 6, for example, is you just order this. Walls exterior layer 1, walls exterior layer 2, walls exterior layer 3, then the default walls exterior, walls interior layer 1. Everything here is following the line style and the fill style coming from the layer, display layer that it resides on. So if you select a wall like this, you can choose exterior layer 1s through 3, change the fill style of the layer itself to like a grid angle, press OK, and it will change this. All right, there you go. Now, if you want to, you can modify all layer sets. I would avoid doing that. I would go ahead and pick the layer sets where you want to change the fill styles, because I'm using this to drive the way walls look on a view by view basis, meaning that if we switch to the framing floor plan view, we're going to see that this is all kind of blanked out, really light, you know, so that it shows those framing members very clearly and easily. That way, if we're to use the braced wall panel tool, whenever we get it working again in the final release, and we place this over the top of some framing members, it'll just be very clear to see where that braced wall panel is, you know, on the backdrop of showing this in this particular view. I haven't come to a final form on that braced wall panel. I'm still looking for a patch fix on something about how it works, okay? So there we go. This is kind of the intent of those layer-based fill styles. It's also strewn right across every single view. So if we just cycle through these views, if I want to just hover over and take a look at every one of these views, we're just going to see every view somehow takes advantage of that layer-based fill style and makes it easy to do things. So there's our, I have callouts in the working roof frame views so that you can, you know, pull these back and forward to kind of avoid roofs, etc., as you need to. And then furniture layout's going to show a specific way as well, fill all the way through. Working landscape view is going to turn off your interior layers, etc. And we can see I've got to do a little edit there. For some reason, it's showing the stools. Working plot plan view seems to be showing stools as well. And there's our electrical plan. Got a lighter fill on all the walls so that we can really see that electric pop. I know a lot of AHJs do not allow you to use red ink, so that's why we're showing it in black, but you can of course change that if you're allowed to use red ink and you want to show that for the electrical plan. Existing floor plan, this is the way that we can underlay something. So we could show kind of a remodel workflow where we're underlaying something, and then floor plan view, and just cycle through these. You'll see that they're all very different. Foundation plan view looks a specific way. I've got the footings fill, footings follow the fill style as well. The framing floor plan view, yeah, very specific look and feel here, right? Don't forget about those tools where you can, set a bearing line and set joist direction and stuff like that. And you can always use those annotations to just drop in here to annotate this the way you want from that library, which I showed a little bit earlier. Probably my favorite thing is the working framing view. It's just so easy to see framing when it's color coded like this. It's easy to really tell the difference between the two. And then you can use the layer hider because of the working view. This isn't some print view. You can always hide one of these layers if you don't want to see them. Really simple. Yeah. Now, let me talk about a couple of custom wall types that are in here. Let's just draw out, for one, in the edit toolbar here is a new exterior wall. So if I draw out with this new exterior wall, and maybe we'll draw it out this way since we've got maybe a little bit more room to draw out this way, is that this is just on its own set of layers that are called new to really distinguish them against existing, right? That's all that's happening here. And so this would be considered an addition in my case. So let's just say we're going to bump this out a little ways. And what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this and we're going to expand this room. We're getting rid of that wall in this case. And we're going to redesign the shower and all that stuff. And we're going to get rid of this little elevation camera that we already established and blow this whole thing up. And so now that we have those new walls established, and we're going to do a new interior wall here too, which we have a tool for. So there's our new interior wall. We're just going to extend that there. So how would we designate this in an as-built workflow? How do we set this all up? For one, we still have auto build roofs on, so that part's good. Obviously this wall type, one wall type is a little thicker than the other one, so might have to, demo back to this, get that in place. So you might copy this wall, demo this back, and then paste that wall back. So that's going to be that new wall. So if I want to show new versus existing, especially on a floor plan view, I'm going to switch to that floor plan view. I'm going to change the reference display. I'm going to target that as-built plan. I'm going to change the reference display layer set to the existing floor plan layer set. I could even do X over R and move it down if I wanted to, and then match the current floor. And so now we should see this underlaid, and you can see where those old walls were. Isn't that cool? If we go back to that AB plan, if we open up that AB plan, let me shut some stuff down so we can go see that. Let's get into the AB plan. This is the way I would show a demo plan, is I'm going to use the wall hatching tool, hatch this wall. While that tool is active, it should make it easier for you to select this and just kind of hatch it to wherever you need, but should be able to hatch this wall, take this and slide it back into place, right? And so that's how I would show demoing these walls really, really easily. Is just come in here. Now, I do plan on updating and doing a little new feature, which is the demo layer should now be able to change the fill style of the thing that you're applying it to, right? So if you just spray something with the demo layer, it should change the fill style to this hatch. I haven't tested it yet, so I haven't been able to like really get in and try that out, but that would be a way that we could just spray demo on in this plan. So this is the AB plan, right? And so this is what I'm doing, is I'm just going to show that these are demo. Now we have a tool here called the annotation tool. It's up here in these construction document tools that we've been using. And so if I drop this in the plan, it's going to pick up out of the box what the flooring is that it's placed on. But if you draw out a leader and connect it to a wall, it's going to pick up what kind of a wall that is as well. All right. Now in this case, it's showing wall to be removed. Looks like I need to update this, but the way this works is if you open up your wall type or your object, whatever object it is, it's going to do some automatic things, such as pick up your automatic description if it hasn't any other programming. But what supersedes all of that is this anno tool field. And all you have to do is put in whatever text you want here, which is wall to be removed in this case. Now, wall to be removed is great, but if we want to store this in a library so that the anno tool is always picking up our preferred annotation, then we want two different annotations. One for when the plan says -n and one for when the plan says -ab. So if the plan says -n, then maybe I'm saying new wall, okay, and I'm going to put a semicolon, and wall to be removed is after that. So that when this is connected and it sees that this is the AB plan, it's going to automatically pick up that this is wall to be removed. All right, that's exactly how that works. So if I were to use that same tool here and drop it into plan, out of the box, there's a lot of settings in here that are already established. So for Windows, it's going to see new window, see schedule. For walls, oftentimes, if this is set up right, which it looks like I've got to do some updating, it should say new wall. You plug it into a door, it says new door per schedule. You know, there's a few different things that it does. If we go bring this down a level, let's see if this update works. Area of work is being picked up, but if we just plug this into there, it's understanding that there's a block out for the garage door. If we were to go up a level and just say that we've got some stairs in this case, which are not going to work for this particular setup right now, but the anno tool will in fact pick up what those stairs are and report those values as well. So you can build this out and build out your favorite things with your favorite annotations, save it to your library, use them over and over again, and know that the anno tool will correctly pick up your specifications. So that when you build out a huge library of things that you're commonly using, it should just be a matter of placing that tool and linking it to that thing and getting all those known annotations that you use over and over again, making it a lot easier for you to get to print and not having to do as much detailing. So that's a particular tool that I love, and I've heard about a couple people that have built it out pretty far and get to a construction document really quickly because of it. So that's a favorite of mine. And I would just say, hey, as you want new features to that, please mention them. But it's got very little programming in it now in terms of automatic programming. For the most part, it's coming from whatever your default settings are. So if I get into wall types here, and in this siding 6, I actually have to get into my default exterior wall and make sure that the anno tool says something. So new walls for detail wall to be removed. Somehow I must have kind of overwrote that something, and it looks like I need to just do a little update to get this to work correctly because it's picking up siding 6 instead. Whereas that should have been superseded. So that must have been an old version. Like I said, part of this video was me finding all the patch fixes before we get an official X18 release, and I just wanted to showcase a lot of the features that are here. Let's take a little review of our plan set here and look at what we've got going on. So we're at 3 hours. Something that I want to do, as we knew there was a slowdown coming, is I did make this new room. What I want to do is call this an addition. And then we could call this, you know, bedroom, etc. Same thing. We want to call this addition. And bathroom instance. Now, if we go open up the schedule that this is being reported to, this is the built-in lot analysis. It's picking up condition area, unconditioned area, floor area ratio, all of the stuff coming from this. Notice that new coverage just popped up here. That's coming from those new rooms called addition. Now, technically speaking, our addition starts from just this section right here. So if I wanted to get this to report absolutely correctly, I would need to get in here and draw a wall and then make it an invisible wall is what I would need to do to kind of define these as one being not an addition, the other being an addition. But if I get into our plot plan, and let's just save the floor plan for now, this polyline is actually establishing the lot size. And so we're going to conform this to whatever your parcel map is. You don't want to actually move your terrain. And the reason for that is that you might have a sloping terrain. If you have a sloping terrain and you have a strange shape like that, that means that this is not going to be a true elevation cut if you had matched your terrain perimeter to your lot's shape, meaning that we're going to get a higher elevation cut if we had a sloping terrain. I'm not sure if that makes sense without me having to demonstrate, but that's kind of a long demonstration, is that this is why we're using a polyline separate from the terrain perimeter. The terrain perimeter is really only to establish whether or not you want the terrain perimeter to cut out your stem walls, or if you want to see through the terrain perimeter to your stem walls being dashed below. So just to show that, our out-of-the-box terrain perimeter is placed just before these callouts. Okay, and that way it covers our stem wall. But if we wanted to, we could bring this inside, right? If we bring this inside, I would probably open this up. I would change the plan display of this into a single center plan display. That's the way I would prefer to show this, okay? Otherwise, I'm just going to place a call out and I'm going to link it to this because it's off the sheet. And then I'll place that call out wherever I want, and that's a lot easier to use, right? We've already kind of discovered that. Now when we go look at this elevation, it's inside of that terrain perimeter, or maybe I looked at the wrong elevation. Let's see here. Notice that those construction lines show up on this view. You can always turn those off if you'd like. It's generating plot lines, and I didn't want it to, but it's a good opportunity to drink some water. There's another reason that I show this on, typically show this on the working landscaping view, but yeah, I could bring this terrain perimeter out. That would be another way of doing this. Double click this guy. Let's take a look. And now you should see that your stem wall is showing, and it's showing as dashed below that terrain perimeter. Right? So that's just another way of displaying that. So quick review of where we're at that 3-hour mark. Get to our page 3. I was going to show you how to do this, so real quick, let's just take a little screenshot. And get a screenshot of the outside of my really ugly house, just like so. Bam, bam, bam. I like to use ChatGPT. I'll get this up. I'm just going to search for my watercolor instructions. And there's my watercolor instructions. Now, how do I get this to you? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll drop it in the description of YouTube at a later time. But I have some instructions here. And so all I have to do is paste, just like that. And I could take these instructions, copy them, and repeat them if I need to. Oftentimes I don't need to. I forgot to copy them. That was stupid. Copy, paste, and hit bam, and we'll let that go, and we'll see what that comes up with. So that's just to get this watercolor set up here. And then the next thing that I personally like to do is If I need to fill out something really, really quickly, like this project team information, this is coming from that project information input. Project team is maybe you have all this stuff listed in some kind of a document. And so you could get AI to just write a little Python script to just, bam, copy, paste, hit tab, bam, copy, paste, hit tab, bam, copy, paste, hit tab. Do that very, very, very quickly, way more quickly than you could do it if you just took a screenshot of this by expanding this little heading here and say, hey, I need you to copy paste all this information in here. And then that would populate all this information. So if I were to just come in here and manually pump in these fields, his architect is John something. I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, Easy Street, and Oakland, VA, 94611. Hey, Rabbitt at gmail.com. If you've got any questions, hit me up. Let me know. And then some number that's not my own. And so you should see that this just populates just as easy as that. What's even better than that? It populates here as well. And then you could just delete sections that you don't actually need or add in like kind. You can see how that's built and do your own system if you need to. Design load criteria is coming from the same system. So if we go and edit the project information, we get to the design load criteria. You can change your design load criteria and how it reports there. That part's simple as well. Same with contact information, project information, your stamp, etc. This stamp on most layouts is sent to every page. On this Pro Arch version, in this case, it's not necessarily sent to every page. It looks like it is right now. I must have not updated. That's too bad. But I did have it before just on the S sheets. There was just a template page for the S sheets. So I think I manually copied it over there. Oh, let's see. You know, it's still kind of have to jockey schedules around. We didn't really touch on the keynote system. That annotation tool, the same way that drops in and gives you information about things in Plan, that's built into the live keynotes. So the note tool itself, if you just drop this into Plan and you hit enter without doing anything and you connect this with the leader to something like a door, if we go look at where this tool lives, it's going to be, open the schedule from there. There we go, new door, see schedule. That's that annotation tool reporting to this keynotes. That keynotes is every page has its own specialized keynote for it. And so it's pulling straight from the keynote system. Pretty dang cool. Now to take a look at what ChatGPT did for me. It did a pretty good job. I like it. Looks great. I forgot to put the electrics out there. So that's wonderful. And then I'm just going to save it to downloads. We'll just say that this is example Pro Plan. And we'll get back into that page, which is page 3 in this case. You just double click this. This is just a CAD detail. You get to double click it again. This is just an image. You can hold Shift to import and find that download. Bam. Reset the original aspect ratio. Close this out. It's just as simple as that. Doesn't get any quicker or easier than that. So we're at what? 3 hours and 8 minutes. And here's what we've got is need to update our vicinity map. We've got a revision table going on here. Applicable codes is all set up. Design load criteria is set up. Our lot analysis is going. Our project team is written down. Our project information, client information is all there. Our page index is automatically populating and updating as we're adding pages. We've got our spec sheet. We've got our plot plan. We need to detail this out, annotate. With landscaping plan, we hadn't touched yet. I'd love to touch that. Let's keep going. There's our existing, so existing plus demo plan. There's our new with our little addition plus showing partial demo. Here's our reflected ceiling plan, which we might need to update, maybe add the windows, doors in there, etc. Keep going. There's our floor framing plan. Need to drop in some keynotes for that. The crawl space system, which I haven't shown yet. And then Brace wall panel plan. Obviously, we're going to have to move some of these notes around. They're just not going to fit on the page. That's too bad. The project's too large. Roof framing plan. We clearly need to rebuild our framing one more time. Maybe we have to do some manual framing, but should be able to come back there and see that now that's updated. You might also designate something that is a new roof framing member, excuse me, a new roof plane versus an old roof plane, and then it would be very easy to show an overframe condition with that. That would just be putting the roof plane on the roof plane's new layer, which exists, by the way, and has its own fill style. And then keep going. There's our just a roof overview, really. There's our elevations, which still probably need to be updated for that addition that we added. We need to trade these out for our cross sections or build out our cross sections. Attach this from our engineer. We've been building out our details here. Yeah, and we've been updating our designations for those details. And then we might need to move. We didn't add any windows, so nothing needs to move around here. And keep going. We got a little slowdown. Here's our kitchen plan, our kitchen spec, some of those kitchen elevations. We were building out bathroom elevations that got deleted and messed up, so that's why we got a broken link there. And here's our cabinets. There's our electrical plan that we got to keep working on. Plumbing and mechanical. This is looking so good. Let's get to that foundation plan. Now, I call it floor framing plan because it's showing my floor framing as well as my foundation stem walls. Typically, I'm going to come in here and do some dimensions that cross the entire span to show an edge-to-edge dimension for people to understand. And then I'll do that also for the garage span, for the garage slab, as well as doing a bunch of annotations here. Something that I will do sometimes is I might delete all of these just by selecting one. Select marquee all similar, delete all this, come into the library browser, search joist, and you'll find that there's a block that I have here under the search joist that if you unblock this, this is just using that same detail designations setup so that it's quickly annotating. Notice it's picked up that spruce that we designated earlier. So this is a really easy way for me to just designate without actually building the framing if I don't care about building the framing and I'm just trying to get to a conduct that makes sense, and maybe I'm detailing out a bunch of maybe post footings with a girder at a midspan or something like that. So this is a way to just detail this out super quick and easy. Now I also want to look for vent. And in vent, if we look in the user catalog, there should be a foundation vent just like this. And if we start dotting this, this is just a window. That's all this is, but it's a special window in that it's reporting something. Okay. And so as we dot this around the foundation, and maybe when we want to delete these sill plates, you know, it's just an option for you, or change the fill style of it to be see-through would be another option for you. Is I'm going to take away that sill plate here now. Delete that through. Now you can really see those foundation vents. If we go select one of these and open the schedule that it's reporting to, you can see that we only have met 25% of requirement of net free area provided for that crawl space using a Vulkan 16x8. So this is doing this automatic calc for us, and I would just say go check in the manual for how this system works. It's detailed out there. It's been a while since I've had to touch it because typically I'm just using this vent, so I haven't had to modify it in a while. Yeah, so that's one set of systems that's in here. So something that would be really easy if you want is you could duplicate this page. So if you duplicated this page, and now if we go to the previous page and we could relink this, you could relink it to a foundation plan view, which will not have floor framing on it. And then you might get rid of the this keynote by relinking the keynote to the keynote's foundation as well. Right, in that case, it looks like it was already linked to keynote's foundation. So this is a way that we could get just foundation only if we wanted to show this separate from foundation with framing on it, is my point. Because if I want to build all framing again, don't display, blah, 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 come back to layout. There's all of our framing again. There's our view of just our foundation stem walls with our vents, right? So just some options for you. Again, super, super easy to build all this out very, very quickly. Let's get into the landscape view real quick. Let's just assume that we've got some kind of a street over here. I'm going to right click in my toolbars and I'm going to toggle on the terrain tools. And that would make it really, really easy for me to pick up just that I've got a straight road over here, something like that. And then maybe I want to do automatic with a 12-inch offset sidewalks, who knows? And then maybe I want a straight driveway coming off my garage, like so. And then maybe I'm going to take and make a polyline around my building, copy paste that, bring the resizing node out on this, and then subtract that inner polyline and not retain the object, so that I could then duplicate this guy, paste hold position, take this, subtract the duplication one, don't retain the original objects. Now I want to take this, and it's a closed polyline, I'm going to convert it to something like, maybe I want just a garden bed. And so it has its own custom fill style as well. There we go. And so then on top of that, I could do a little bit more work just by, maybe you want to draw in a grass region. Where is the grass region? Is it way over here? Yeah, cool, grass region. That's going to show that. Obviously, you're going to want to make, oops, did I just click that? I'm going to make a polyline again so that we can take this, subtract that inner polyline if it'll let me. I bet it won't. Sometimes you just got to take this and shift this away for a second. 2000. Some methods I've come up with over the year. That way we can subtract that. Don't retain the original objects. Again, copy paste this, paste hold position, and subtract that as well. Don't retain original objects. Slide this back into place 2000. Copy paste, hold position, take our grass, subtract it. You also could have just changed the draw order and thrown it underneath all those. That would have been something else you could have done pretty easily. But this is starting to look pretty good. So if you have my landscape package, then come into that landscape. And I will be putting out an update for this where we use the new gradient fills to make these look even nicer than they already do. But here's my trees folder. Let's just grab a couple of these trees, weeping willow, Doug fir, etc. For 2, bam, 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 cool, cool, cool. A couple of these. You can also get into landscaping, hardscaping. I've got a bunch of stuff in here that are really, really cool. Bushes and shrubs and more. Is maybe we've got some these in here placed along the grass edge. There's some assembled stuff in here, but yeah, as you build this out, this should start to look like a landscaping plan. Like I said, I will be editing these so that when you see this, the fill style in this case is coming from this solid fill style. I'll be changing this so that it's gradient and it's radial and the colors match my green color scheme in this case, where it's actually going to be looking a lot more like this than anything else, right? And so that's what it'll end up looking like, a lot sharper when I put out that update. What's really cool about this, come to this layout, and it looks like I am working from an outdated layout. I must have restored an outdated layout. That's too bad, where it had some fixes that I had made. So that's unfortunate, but I'll just have to remake those fixes. This is just relinked to the as-built plan is what's happening here, as opposed to Plant Legend in the new plan. Here's Plant Legend in the new plan. So that should just start populating. Isn't that cool? So yeah, you can build out some landscaping plans here. Be pretty simple. Just expand this view a little bit. Or maybe you just want to use this tool to rescale this, right? As you need to. Yeah, you're pretty sharp. How fast and easy is this? When's the last time you've seen this much of a plan set done in 3 hours and 20 minutes? Let's add a second floor. I'll also show you some of the wall tools. I'm going to do just a little satellite building over here just to show you a couple of these. The main ones really are going to be the board and batten. So here's a board and batten one. Not sure why it's drawing slow right now. There is a furred stepped wall. This is for your foundation stem walls that are on a stepped foundation. Okay. And then we've got a furring wall. This reports to the furring wall layer. All right, so notice that the furring wall is going to look a little bit different from the other wall types. There's a method to draw pools. That's really hard to get into the details of that, but that works really well as well. It will build out a pool very quickly. It will build out a hot tub. That's a raised, elevated hot tub with all the cove base moldings as well. So you can use this to just draw out a pool real quick. Just make sure you open this up. Designate it as a pool. Okay, and then in the structure panel here is where you want to make sure that this thing's actually underground. So we're going to say negative 72 inches in this case, and then the overall ceiling is going to be at 18 inches, right? So that makes this little setup here. I might have done that wrong. I'm not sure. I don't remember. It's been a while. Might have to edit it. We'll go see. And then I also have a brick wall. That is the new cladding 3D brick. And there is a brick wall layer that's determining the fill style of this as well. We'll look at some of these things. Look at this. Isn't that looking cool, right? There we go. If we expand this terrain perimeter, obviously we're going to get that road in place. There we go. We're seeing that partial road. There's that. That garden bed has a custom texture. Everything's got a custom texture, honestly. Here's going to be that pool. I did designate that correct. You can see the pool water. It looks nice. You can see that it's got a really custom set of moldings with different materials on it, including the cove at the base. Okay, there is a tool to produce a ramp in here that will even conform to a custom shape automatically using the stair tool with the stairs set to 1-inch rise and runs. So it just looks like a ramp. And it's set to use automatic winders, so it automatically fills into a shape. That's a really cool trick. And then the hot tub has a raised platform set up. Here's our 3D brick. That's about as good as I can make a brick like this. You can see some brick are popped out more than others. Very 3D looking, looks great in a cross-section view. And then here's our board and batten. And you can edit this board and batten just like you would, just using the interactive adjust 3D cladding tool. So you can use it in this way if you want to, just by sliding this over. Right, so that would be one way of doing it. You could rescale if you wanted to. I wouldn't suggest that on this cladding. Or you can use the interactive tool. We're getting some serious memory leaks at this point because my system is really slowing down. And you would just change your spacing here. So in this case, the row overlap gap is negative 10 3/4. What that equates to is you take the height in this case of the profile, 2.5 inches, is actually the width, believe it or not, but the width is 2.5 inches. So take that 2.5 inches divided by 2, that's 1.25 inches, add that to 10 3/4. What do you got? You got 12 inches. So this is a 1x3 slat at 12-inch distance between them. All right. So that's what's going on. If you wanted 16 inches, the really easy way of doing this is just saying +4 would be another common theme here. So that's going to make this that +4. Oh, and actually, I should have done -4. That was my fault. That was my fault. Now I got a -8. -8. Bang. Isn't that cool? I do have a board and batten material region that has been updated to use cladding as well. So you can do things like this, and that should throw that cladding right up against our gable tool. And then the default material region for the Pro Plan is set up to look like a 1x. So material region tool, bam, just draw this in just like that. This should look like a 1x. You should be able to use the 3D dimensions to dimension this to the correct size if you need to. This would just be a really easy way to do this. And then go take a look at that elevation. Look how pretty it is, right? It's going to look really nice. One more tool I want to note, we did change the overall plate height to 9 foot. Let's just, for argument's sake, say that we're going to change it to 10 foot. I'm going to drag this up another 12 inches. And then I do have a tool that will automatically raise the head height of all your windows and doors and change the size of the doors to an 8 foot. So if we change this in plan mode, we should be able to click on this. I'm not sure. I do not think this works on mold windows. Maybe it does. Yeah, it looks like it did. So there we go. Everything is at 9 foot, with the exception of this because it's still referencing that floor that's 16 inches down. So you're gonna have to do a little update on that. Oh, and the other problem is it did apply to my foundation vents. Whoops. Never saw that one coming. So use that tool before you place those foundation vents, is what I'd say. That's funny. But you can see those vents placed. There you go. Isn't that crazy? How much work you can get done in what? 3.5 hours. Yeah. Let's see. Do I want to mention anything else that this does? Boy, I know there's more. I know there's more. This comes with 1,100 library items, so there's a lot more than just these toolbars because there's only about 250 custom objects in the toolbar. So that's another surplus of 800 different library objects that you can utilize to hopefully make life a little bit easier. And then if you really want to buy the whole shebang with all of my toolkits, including things to detail out shelves, detail out closets very, very quickly and easily, detail out fireplaces very, very quickly and easily, the landscape package, railing packages, staircase packages, and then tons and tons of materials. You'll notice that the library is 6,566 items right now, and it should be at about 7,000 by the time we're done with the update cycle. So there's just tons of stuff in there if you want to buy the complete system that includes both. If you don't already have it. And you can always get a discount code to upgrade to that right from your accounts tab if you've purchased a Pro plan. It will discount against that complete system for you. Man, do I love that comp shingle texture. I just love it. By the way, real quick, just to show this, let's change that. Let's get into structure, surface. We're going to change this roll from 3D cladding, or actually, let's just delete it. Now let's insert above, and now let's change this texture and find a standing seam. Now I have one in my full library, so I know I can find one very easily. There's my standing seam texture, and let's change this roll the cladding again, and this time we're going to make it inch 0.25 maybe. Let's do that, and then we'll edit the cladding, and it's automatically picking up what that cladding should look like. It does look like it's placing it in the wrong surface direction, but let's just see if that worked. It's okay. Yeah, it looks like it's moving that cladding in the wrong surface direction. Sure is. Sure is, but we could adjust that 3D cladding just like this. And what I would say is, I would probably change the material for one, and then let's just replace this, and we'll replace it with, I mean, I would just draw out a fin, would be a really great way of doing this, but let's see if I have something. I do, kind of. That would be the fin. I'm not sure why it's placing it upside down. Oh, I get it. I see what it's doing. So let's rotate it. No, that's not what I want to do. Width of this, I want to be 1.25 inches. Height of it, yeah, we'll just leave the height right now, even though that looks like a really strange profile. Maybe 1.25 inches too, whatever. And then let's say row overlap gap at -12. And then here's what's strange is we want it to face the other way. Profile rotation. The profile rotation rotates it there, so that's what's wrong. Texture up direction is along molding. Angle rows, offset rows up, offset even rows, very texture, blah blah blah. Repeat distance, yada yada yada. Boy, we're getting outside of what I know. Because I thought that I would understand how to rotate this, but I don't. I do not understand how to rotate this. So someone's gonna have to tell me. Vertical position above a polygon. No, that's all right. Boy, that's interesting. Okay, well, I know a solution. Let's just say yes. I'm new to this feature. Let's say yes. I don't know why that just got rid of the texture. Because it looks like it's just applying to the texture only. And so we need a surface below that. I see what's happening there. So let's do this. Here's what we're going to do. I'm making this up on the fly, clearly. Insert below. Change this to standard. And we're going to end up painting that texture something different. And then I'm just going to use a black stainless texture. Apply on a plan level. Change the default material for this component. Same thing here. Remember my choice. It still seems to remain. That's fun. Probably because auto build doesn't want to change the default. That's too bad. Let's see if we can select both of these. No, we cannot at the same time. Let's go black, stainless, coming from my user catalog. There we go, is what I want. Now we should be able to find that here. Steel stainless, bam, just like that. And then our ridge material. And then be able to click on this in plan mode and rotate it 80 degrees. I know what he's doing. I don't think so. I don't think this guy knows what he's doing. It's not working. I wish I could just cut this part of the video off. Clearly, I need to study this tool because that's not working the way I anticipated it at all. Not at all. Why is that going that direction and why can't I change it? That is a very curious thing. So, someone will have to clue me in. Doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah, it's a perfect time to end on. That's how these usually end up anyways. I get fed up. I'm tired. I'm gonna go eat. I'm gonna go get some ice cream, something. Who knows? If you stuck around for this long, I so appreciate it. This is a way to help people out that already have my template. It's a way to show it to people that don't have my template, show all of its capabilities. I'm going to show one last thing, and that's just because I just added it. So I'm going to close everything down just to show you that I do have an X18 tool that is specific to people that are just kitchen designers. So let me shut all these views down real quick and we'll make sure we save so we can reference it. And if you haven't, if you're watching this much later than the publication date, then I would tell you that I probably already have this video out. But if you're watching this in the next couple days, know that I'm going to have a video coming out that's about system optimization and what I've discovered with extensive testing on how Chief Architect runs behind the scenes by tracking log files and event logs on my system and how to optimize your system to work very, very quickly. This is not my fastest system right now because I did some updates to my secondary system that make it faster than this. So I'm just awaiting some new hardware that's going to come in on Monday, and I'll let you plan out your next desktop adventure in building a machine that will be as fast as possible in Chief Architect, which is a very enjoyable thing when it's running super quickly. So this last step here is let me get into the project browser and clear any kind of filter that I got going on here, which, oh, and toggle open plans. And so I'm going to expand layouts and I'm going to find Rexel Kitchen is a new thing that I've added. This is an ANSI layout. It's really, really hard to auto-populate pages on an 11 by 17 because of how small it is. But I know some of you are focused kitchen designers and you want to utilize the Pro Plan and the Kitchen Tools package, and because it makes it so easy to annotate and do all the automatic elevations, etc. So I'm going to make a copy with links to a brand new project, and then I'm going to start drawing. Now I'm going to get into the Pro Plan -N, and I'm going to switch to the working kitchen and bath view, where it lets you know that if you really want an auto-populated 11 by 17 and all you're doing is drawing a single room, such as a kitchen, you need to draw it in this tiny little box. That is how crazy I think it is that we've tried to squeeze so many things on 11 by 17, but I hear you. I know you need this done, so here we go. This would be the process, is just draw your room inside of this box. So long as it's inside of this box, it will auto-populate an 11 by 17. So you can see here, just in terms of room size, especially if we switch to this view, is 26 foot by 14 foot. That's about the max size that we can get on 11 by 17 at a 1/2 inch scale. All right. And so switching back to that working kitchen and bath view, I'm going to call this a kitchen, what have you. I'm going to start placing my cabinets, right? I do want to showcase a couple more things that are in the kitchen tools, just for those that don't know, is that all of these tools typically work for all kitchen cabinet types, okay? so that if I click on the 2-drawer base onto this base cabinet, or I click it onto any of these cabinets, it's making everything a 2-drawer something, right? A 4-drawer something. It's making everything 4-drawer, right? If I click on the microwave tool, it's going to make everything a microwave, okay? If I click on the double oven tool, it's going to make everything a double oven. In fact, this is going to make it, if I switch to a little ray trace view, it should even have a light underneath this with a vent hood on that one. So that wine tool, it's going to do that. If I want inlay, right, and it's going to make everything a Euro style box, right, inset. And then let's pick another one. What do I want here? I was hoping to do a fun one. Full height double doors. Same thing. It's going to make everything that full height double doors. I imagine you've got some kind of stringer style on the back side of this, some stiffener or something if you're actually doing that in real life. And let's see, what's another fun one? Maybe the wine cabinet. This actually turns it into something that looks like a wine cabinet in this case. Let's just drop a little light in here so we can see. And so there we go. Isn't that cool? Turns all these into wine cabinets. That's a wine display glass cabinet. This is a lit display. You can always click on this and turn this off or dim it if you want to. Turn this on, click on the dimmer, set that to 30%. It's going to make a big difference. Might need to turn your sample rate up, who knows. So all these kitchen tools work really, really well. And then if we were to go open up that layout file, and because we drew it in that space, we've got project information, contact information. There's no spec writing here. We do have a page index and applicable codes and a place for you to change the rendering out. Here's your existing. This is sent at a 1/4 inch scale. Next sheet's going to be that 1/2 inch scale. And as you can see, it barely fits on the page, but it still is a 26-foot room by 14-foot room. You still get all those automatic dimension tools. You get this spec system that's built in, and then an earmark page for you to send your elevations. I would just duplicate this page over and over again as you send more elevations. And then there are some modifications that you have to do to the cabinet schedule and the window schedule if you plan on using it, which is come in here, open this up, and you're probably going to want to just get rid of the 3D elevation in this case. You're definitely going to want to get rid of the auto column width. You'll want to get rid of the info, also macro 3. You might want to get rid of macro 4 or leave it. That's the finish. Get rid of the estimate, press OK, and then reset the column width. And this is going to make this a much smaller schedule that can fit on your ANSI B. All right, that's going to make a lot more sense so that you can add more cabinets into there. Same thing with that window and door schedule. You're going to want to limit what's being shown there so that you only show what you need and so that it all fits on the page. And then of course you got an electrical plan view and an electrical legend and proposed electrical fixtures unless otherwise noted. And of course, you can still come in here and do things such as grab this cabinet schedule, copy it over to the side, and relink it to something. And in this case, you do have in the CAD details and title block and spec, you can bring in any spec that you want that I've deleted out of there. So standards electrical, maybe you need to show this info block, center it up, and resize this and get it on the page, so that it shows. So that would be a way that you can get some spec on the sheet in case you want to utilize the spec that's already in the system. Boy, that was a lot to go over. Again, thanks for sticking with me. Almost a 4-hour video. Appreciate it. I can't wait to the things to come. Thank you, and take care.